Hajime mashite.
Hajime mashite.
Hajime mashite.
Hajime mashite.
Close. There was no job, trying to get a job on Centrelink, and
Since you're the author, I would actually like you to sign
oh,
the first page.
Good God. Will I even remember how to sign a 35K a year job trying to support my then girlfriend and 2 kids?
Right.
If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Also, please smash that like button on the video and enjoy the show.
Good afternoon, Sasha. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you,
Very
man?
well, thank you.
I'm good.
Thank you for being on the podcast, brother.
No
So-
problem. That's literal, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess, yeah. But yeah, thank you for showing up and, being here to share your story before you, I guess, leave and go to Japan, which
Yeah.
might be for a while.
Yeah, I'll be going there at least for 3 years, at least.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, because my son's doing soccer there, so that'll be for his soccer college. He'll be there the entire time, at least.
Yeah.
At least for 3 years. But we'll see what happens after that. Who knows?
Hmm.
You can
I
never
guess-
tell.
Yeah. So because he's doing soccer and he's aiming to do it for professionally, Korea and be a professional soccer athlete,
That's what he's hoping. Yeah.
like Sui and
Yeah, exactly. like the best of them out there.
yeah, definitely.
I don't remember what his favorite players are though, so can't help you there. But
Yeah, right.
he's got a couple, I think, Spanish players that he really admires and he really wants to be like. But I might have gotten that wrong again.
Yeah. And how's the others finding their time in Japan, going there rather than growing up here?
They're having a great time. In general, they've gotten used to it. They're doing well, but there are lots of differences, mainly on how serious they take basically everything. So it's not as relaxed. It's definitely not as a relaxed environment. But I think that's a good thing for kids to be in a bit more of a pressure cooker environment because it builds resilience, and you really don't get that much here anymore. Because most schools are, you don't really start studying until year 10, essentially. Until then, it's something, but it's not really much.
Yeah, true.
In comparison to other countries, yeah.
But how do you find the way mental health is played out with other countries starting serious study early on, whereas other ones were more laid back and let, I guess, kids have a bit more fun or free time in a way because they had less responsibilities in their academics?
Well, everything's a trade-off. So if you have a lot of free time and, basically do whatever you want childhood, like I have for most of my life,
Same?
it means that you start doing the actual living much later on. And I don't mean living as in, having the time of your life, going partying. I'm talking about actually achieving something with your life. You start doing that much later on. I think I only started when I was 26. So that's a whole 8 years of idleness where, sure, I've had fun, but essentially it's wasted time. And then you end up having to catch up to everyone else who actually started on time, so from other countries, and you are a severe disadvantage. And that's just the fact. You have all these skills that you need to build: social skills, networking skills, all sorts of things, financial skills. All of them everything you do in life is a skill, and you have to learn it and build it. Nothing comes for free. All comes with a time price. So, yeah, there are negatives of starting early as well, like working hard early. And you can see that because a lot more people in a high-pressure society will give up early. What's the point of it all? I don't even have any enjoyment in my life and things like that. But I find that's more due to the fact that we have a society that tells us that fun is the only important thing in life. So of course, if you see celebrities or whoever else having the time of their lives, and you look around and you go, well, why am I not there? Isn't that what life is meant to be about? Having the time of my life? of course you're going to turn around and go, well, society is not, like, it's not for me. It's not doing me any good. It's not supplying me with the opportunities. When in actual fact, society supplies opportunities to everybody at the same rate, pretty much. The big difference is the people who have more money, they have more ability to weather the storm when it comes to not getting the opportunities. And then when they do get a big opportunity, it's easier to get in because they're not in a bad financial state or mental state or whatever, right? So it's definitely harder. But when it comes to actually, picking, oh yeah, you're going to be a winner, it's a lot, pretty much life dishes it out badly to everybody. And if you have more stuff, support, wealth in some cases, you're just able to weather the crap easier. And then when you get the good opportunities, you get there. So, yeah, went on a bit of a ramble, but essentially, yeah, I think it's just a trade-off. So with my life, it would have been better if I was more serious earlier. I could have achieved a lot more. With my kids, I want to make sure that they actually get that into them early, because I know me and my wonderful wife will be able to supply them with joy and freedom and all the other things that you get in Australia. So we can supply them with that. But when it comes to getting them to work hard, that's for me the hardest hurdle when it comes to life, is actually getting yourself to start treating it with some serious thought.
Yeah, definitely. And also with the more wealth usually comes with more connections as well.
Yeah,
which
yeah,
means to help
yeah,
you
yeah.
get-
More connections. But that also comes with its own negatives, like more expectations, more pressure. You must follow this path or that path. And that comes with its own prices as well. So, as I said before, life just deals out crap to everybody. And how well you can weather the crap parts is whether or not you're going to be prepared for when you find an opportunity that presents itself that will lead you to a good part of your life. And if you give up, it doesn't stop. And if it's giving you crap before, it doesn't stop. That's why I said it gives out crap to everyone at the same rate. It's an equal opportunity, crap thrower, so to speak.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so, and some people weather it well, some people avoid it better than others. But yeah.
There's a philosophical take for it.
That's the only way if you're going to be able to live without despair, I guess. You're going to have some sort of hope.
Yeah. Now I want to take things a lot further back in time, because now we're talking about you moving to Japan with your whole family, with your wife, your kids and stuff. But how did you get to this point, and what was the earliest memory you can remember?
Earliest memory I can remember of what part of my life? Just in life in general? Well, funnily enough, I do remember anecdotally I remember the snow in Russia, but that's anecdotally meaning like, I think I remember it, but the way I described the scene, my mom's like, it never happened. So who knows? That would have been just me touching the snow with my hands. And then a person who I thought was my mom telling me, cover up your hands because that's really stupid of you to do that. Because, it's not healthy. It's cold, your fingers will fall off eventually. So that's the earliest memory of childhood that I think I have. As for how did I get here? Well, my parents immigrated to Australia. I basically lived in Australia since I was 7. During school years and up until I was about 12, I was not really doing all that much. I was just doing as I was told by whoever. Then at around about 12, I decided that I really want to get married in the future and have kids. That was kind of like the dream. And then, of course, I was told that, no, you actually have to have a job. You have to actually, pick a career. You have to actually try and make money somehow. And then I got this lofty idea of, I want to be a writer. I want to write. Yeah, so that was basically the two dreams. And then, again, not really doing much till I was in uni, learning about games development. That's kind of when I finally had to start doing stuff, because I was finishing off my uni degree, or I finished my uni degree actually at that stage. Then I had to actually go and get a job. And of course, if you're getting a job for the first time, you'll be probably in the same position as me without any skills on how to get a job. So you go out there and you do the regular, I posted this many applications online and so on and so forth, and then spend the rest of your time just playing and not really doing anything. So this is what I mean by like having an easy kind of chill, fun upbringing gets you to a point where you have zero skills to actually get anywhere. And then, people have an expectation that you just go and get a job. And then when you talk to people who are older than you, they're like, just take your resume and go into a shop and hand it to someone. Yeah, no, you have no skills. So of course you're not going to be able to like push yourself into doing that. Like, that's why I'm saying like the easy upbringing doesn't really get you a person who is ready to function in society. It doesn't at all.
No.
So that's probably why I have a much more strict view of like kids need to learn these skills early, because if they don't learn them, no one's going to teach them. They're going to have to learn them by themselves, and that, delays them a lot, and some of them don't ever actually truly like learn them either. They sometimes just fall off the side. They go into alcohol, drugs, gangs, whatever. Very easy to lose your path when you don't actually have the skills to actually handle what you need to handle in life. Anyway, so there was no job, trying to get a job on Centrelink, and my mom, at that point, she's not married any longer to my dad, and she has a partner at that time, Simon, who she's still with. He said, like, this is kind of silly, you're not getting a job. You should just go in and just hand your resume in. And I'm like, well, that's not how it works. Like, you have to go through these processes. No one is just going to take your resume and all that. So Simon, being Simon, he went to a local retirement home that was nearby that had a like front of house cafe place. And then he came in there and literally just handed them my resume and said, hey, I know of a kid, he needs a job. Here's his resume. He's already done his hospitality stuff because, he's thought that would be like a good job to start with. He's done his certificate. Will you take him? And they're like, yeah, we'll interview him. And then I went in, did the interview, and they're like, yeah, we'll take you. And then I had my first job. Just like that. The guy went in there, handed him a resume, did a bit of talking, friendly, banter, and I got the job. Now, I'm not saying that's going to work everywhere. Most likely it's never going to really work. But if you have the skill set, you have the ability to have a friendly rapport, you're actually able to talk to them, find out about what they need and know of someone that they might need, you might actually be able to make something happen that isn't the normal process. So anyway, that was my first job. While I was doing my first job, I met my wife. She was working at a cafe. She was, at the time we met, she wasn't available. She was married. So I was just on friendly terms. Later on, her relationship soured, and she was starting to look at, separating. At that time, we grew closer. So we started dating, and then, she already has 2 kids. So again, I had like, an opportunity presents itself, but not without requirements, not without circumstances. And this is what always happens in life. You can't get a perfect opportunity. She is perfect, by the way, just for the record. But, there's always things that aren't like costs associated. And she already has 2 kids. So I had to, before we started the relationship, I had to ask myself, am I going to be the father of these 2 kids? Because you can't just go in there going, oh yeah, they're not my kids, but I will be your husband. It doesn't work that way. They are a family unit. So I thought about it all of like maybe an hour, and then decided, yes, I will be with her. She is going to be my wife. And so then we started dating. A couple of years later, we got married. We had a kid of our own as well. So I have 3 kids now. And yeah, during the time I've been with her, I've had to go from a minimum wage 35K a year job, trying to support, my then girlfriend and 2 kids,
Right.
to like, 65K-ish, like managing to actually, support a little bit, to like now a decent wage. And so I guess that's kind of where I got to. And during that time, of course, I was still trying to write. I was still trying to do things. And I forced myself to write my 1 book, which I've not published, which I want to burn because it was a piece of crap. Because I told myself, no, I'm going to force myself to write a book, because if you don't force yourself, you're not going to get the skills you need to actually do it properly, right? So I forced myself to write one. It was absolutely atrocious. When I read it, I'm like, there's some good ideas, but most of it's crap.
What's it about?
It is about a different world to here. It's a world where the sun is very dim, doesn't shine very well. And the people there are not humans, they're humanoid. I think I said they're like blue-skinned people. Nowadays, that idea is already taken. Duh. But back then, there was, nothing like that back then. So I thought it was such a good idea, amazing idea, And this race is right now fighting a kind of demonic invasion. And they have a prophecy of how they're gonna, prevail. The hero that goes out and saves the world and all that. And he's got his companions that come with him.
The 12 disciples.
No, three companions, but like it all kind of goes to crap by the end of the book, because they assumed that he was the hero, and later on it turns out that he's not actually the hero. It's one of his companions that's actually meant to be the hero, that's meant to save their race, and because of that, the prophecy doesn't get fulfilled. It kind of just all falls apart. His entire race gets enslaved or killed, and he's left alone because all of his companions made sure he escaped because he was meant to be the hero. And now he's like, oh, this is great. And that's basically how that book goes. It's not, of course, the end. Of course, there's many, many more books that are meant to come after that. And the demons don't just stay at this world. They open a portal to the next one that they're going to invade. And that world manages to fight them back, and so on and so forth. It's meant to be a huge series of books, which I will eventually write, but that was my first book that I wrote. And I'll have to rewrite it when I do want to release it, but for now, it'll just stay in the cobwebs of my mind.
That could work as a good comic book.
Potentially, yes. Most of my books could work okay as comic books or visual representations, because a lot of the time my imagination is visual in nature, so it could work. But yeah, I plan to just mainly stick to books, just because I just like the idea, not for any good reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can do an autobiography if you want.
Yeah, my great and amazing life.
It doesn't have to be like, some like show off ego thing. It can just be like just a picture into someone's life. Kind of like what a podcast can be at times.
Yeah.
It's a window into your life, and just And people might relate to it more.
Yeah, it could be, but like that's not the value that I want to leave the world. And I can go into the values that I want to leave the world later if you like. But there's a lot of things that I want to do, and most of them I'm probably going to fail at. But that's, you know, you don't succeed without trying. So
That's life.
yeah, yeah. So that was my first book, but I never published it, and I eventually published my book I currently have while I was with my wife. And so, yeah, as you can see, I'm at a point in my life where I'm like, okay, my kids are doing reasonably well. One of them's pursuing his dream. I have managed to fulfill both my dreams. So now I'm like, what is the next thing I'm going to try and achieve and build on and things like that. So I think I'm in a good place in my life currently.
Yeah. And with that book you mentioned that you currently have made, what is the book? What's the name of it? What was the inspiration behind making it and the storyline?
So the book is Murdoch, Embers in the Dark. Murdoch is going to be the world it's set in, and I'll have 2 other books that I'll eventually write. But time is always scarce, so and my writing is not financed by anything because, you know, I'm a first-time writer, so book sales are non-existent, so, you know, that's just the way it goes. But so the inspiration for it, dream, I think, for this one. Most of my inspirations come from dreams or philosophical ideas that I want to write about. But very rarely is it from other people's work. It might filter in from other people's work, like the stuff that I watch or the games that I play, because I play computer games a lot. That's one of my hobbies. So it might filter it in. Music is also a good source of inspiration for things. But yeah, I have a rule that I don't read when I write a book so that I don't copy by accident direct, like line by line, word by word descriptions and things, because I think that can happen. Your brain's very happy to commandeer, you know, things that it found kind of fun and useful. So yeah, so this one I think it was a dream, but I think the first passage of the book where the character has a dream was the dream that I had, or something very similar, and then that grew into the book.
Right.
Yeah.
And when you like go to sleep and stuff, do you ever have like a notepad near your bed and you write down ideas that you randomly get?
No, but I do sometimes go, is this a book or not? I do ask myself that when I wake up from a dream. And if it is, then I will whip out my laptop and type up just a small paragraph description of what it is, so that at least I have something solid that when I read it could trigger it again. Yeah, but I have a lot to write, so I don't really need to write down any more ideas for now. I have a lot of books to write.
Definitely, yeah. And I find it way easier to write kind of non-fiction like events and stuff rather than creating a whole fictional world, which is why I gave you the idea of an autobiography, because I find when you're just remembering things and then you're writing down exactly what happened is a lot easier than having the creativity to create a whole world and then build on it every step of the way.
Yes and no. I think creativity is a skill set of its own. And some people are born more with that spark and that love of creating to the point where they train it more, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
So I like to separate the things you're born with, your innate, people call them talents, but I don't call them talents. I call them interests. Your innate interests that you're born with, there's a bunch of those. And you do have a bunch of physical attributes. You know, some people have a high IQ. IQ can't be changed, unfortunately. So some people have a high IQ. Some people have, you know, stronger muscles. Some people are taller. You know, there are certain things like that that you're born with. But then all the skills that utilize your basic attributes, those you train. And that's why you can sometimes get extraordinary things where you have someone who doesn't possess the attributes you normally think of, oh, this guy is going to be a great such and such, but he ends up doing it because of the sheer amount of practice he's had at the skills that are involved. So I think it's not as cut and dry. So when it comes to creativity, definitely a skill, definitely can be built up, but you really have to like ideas and like to think. I think those are the big things, because when you're writing an autobiography, the story is already written. It's more the craftsmanship of the writing. While when you're a creative sort who wants to, create something from a bunch of scraps, that's essentially what creativity is. For those sorts of people, they tend to enjoy the creating process probably a little bit more than the actual building, if that kind of makes sense. I mean, I might be wrong, everyone's different, but for me at least, the idea, creating the ideas, the feelings that go into the scenes, the interplay between characters, the characters feeling alive, stories that should be told sometimes. It's rare, but sometimes you have a story like, this story should be told. This is a really good story about, a good person or a bad person turning good or whatever, like
Or
some
like
kind of
trafficking
inspirational
and stuff, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things. I kind of lost my train of thought. What was the question?
The original question was about, I believe, autobiographies were easier to write than like fictional stories.
Yeah, for me, the writing process itself is a pain. I had to edit my book myself because, as I said before, my books are not financed by anything at the moment, because until you make it in one way or another, you need your day job. So because of that, it basically meant that I had to edit that book like 11 times, I think, was
Did
the
you use
final count.
Grammarly to edit?
No. I mean, there's a spell checker on my word processing software, but no, it was manually reading through it, going, does this sound right? Does this read right? A lot of my conceptions of me being clever turned out to be something that just made it really difficult to read. So I had to restructure the sentences to be more simple, because I'm just like, this is stupid. Like, I wouldn't read this if it was a book. That kind of thing. That's why I think you have to write a book. Like, you have to force yourself to write a book before you know how to write a book. At least how your brain is able to put things together in a way where it's understandable and enjoyable. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, long story short, it's easier to write an autobiography in terms of the creative part, but the writing part's still just as difficult, and making it entertaining is still just as difficult. But for someone who's writing a fantasy novel or something like that, the creating part tends to be the more enjoyable, fun part, and then the actual trying to get your ideas on paper, because they're not like physical things that have happened, becomes a lot harder, especially if it's high fantasy with dragons and magic and things like that. And understanding how that all works consistently in your own head, and then not proceeding to write an encyclopedia about how your world works, because people don't necessarily want to read that unless you write a separate book that's like the lore of the world. Then go ahead. But if you're wanting to write a fantasy story, then yeah, a lot of the time people like to experience the world, but not necessarily be told, this is how it works, by the way.
Yeah. Kind of like Harry Potter, where the books kind of just kept getting into slightly deeper knowledge, but further on, rather than having it.
Yeah, exactly. Harry Potter is a very good example of a well-done fantasy novel. It's a little bit too grounded in reality in terms of the fact that it's set in our current, well, not like 20 years ago, 30 years ago, current world. And yeah, that kind of puts me off when it comes to reading. But in Harry Potter, it's like very little parts of it are like that, so it's not too bad. but yeah, it's a very well written book. There's a lot of very well written books. Unfortunately, a lot of those authors that have written those wonderful, very well written books are getting older now, and they're either stopping writing or passing away. So, I mean, it's a negative and a positive. Positive is that there's more room to breathe. Negative is that in trying to fill those gaps, some authors that have connections would be pushed to the forefront, even if not necessarily is their work any good. And it will take probably 10 years, 15 years for, the actual good work to crop up and those positions to actually be filled by really good writers again. But I think that happens in all industries, though.
And then I guess with AI, that might also like rumble with it a little bit.
Oh,
A lot of AI books.
that just increases the amount of junk there is. So the sea of, without sounding crass, the sea of refuse just gets bigger, right? There's just more crap out there. And that being said, my book might be also part of that crap. I don't know. I find it to be entertaining. A few people who've read it, very few people who've read it, also said it was really good, but that's just a couple of people. So it's not really tried and tested, right? And that requires people reading it and seeing whether they like it or not. And that's how the market works, really.
And talking about that book, I actually have a copy right here, which is called Murdoch Embers in the Dark.
Yep. And it's written by me, but it's underneath a pseudonym. So
Like a pen name.
yeah, exactly.
It's under Kelmiran.
Yeah, Kelmiran I Kelnor.
Yeah. And what was your idea with coming up with that name to represent you?
Kelmiran and Kelnor are both gaming names that I've used in the past when I was playing games online. The I is just so that I didn't end up with like a shortening of KK, which is a little bit too close to KKK, which I don't want any associations with. So Kick is a lot better.
Yeah.
So yeah, I does stand for Icarus. So there is something there, but it's just, it's just Kelnor essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the book.
It's available on Amazon.
That's right. It's available on Amazon. And both digital and physical copies.
Like ebook as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's it.
And the process of...
Let's put it back there.
All right.
The process of
publishing a book on Amazon. That's why I dropped something.
I didn't see anything fall, but
maybe it got blown away by the wind though. That's a little shame. Might keep it with the bag.
Yeah, the pages aren't going to fall out, so not to worry.
Yeah. Hopefully. Oh.
Amazon doesn't make books that are
right. I forgot to
so
mention,
terrible.
Since you're the author, I would actually like you to sign the first page.
Good God. Will I even remember how to sign as okay, we'll see. Yeah? You want a message or is that enough?
I mean, unless you have like a cheeky reference to some part of the story.
No cheeky references. But yeah, I guess.
And then the blurb. What did you write in the blurb? Or like the kind of the part that's at the back of a book?
The blurb, I wrote essentially what the story is about, which is a witch who has nightmares. She's having nightmares regularly, and because she's having nightmares, she has to go on an adventure to try and find the source of those nightmares and to get rid of them in a world that doesn't particularly like witches.
Fair enough. Most worlds are kind of like that.
Yeah. Most worlds are structured where witches get picked on a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, but she's like one of the good ones.
Sure. It's look, the perspective is from her, so yeah, she would call herself one of the good ones. But the thing is, witches in that world, they're just people who are just trying to survive, and they just happen to be born with magical, talents, and not be born into a family that is allowed to practice magic, essentially. So there is a leading body of mages that controls the use of magic, and unless you are part and parcel of that group and that society, you're counted as a witch and you must be hunted down. So that's basically how that particular kingdom operates. So it's not exactly a great place to be.
Yeah. So it's like run by the mages.
Yeah,
But
essentially.
if you're found to be part of somewhat the magical lineage or
Yeah, families, magical mage families that, are part of the leading body, they're counted as mages. And probably influential people and nobility probably also, go, well, it just happens to be a mage, So if you're part of the upper society, you would be counted as a mage. And if you're part of what, in these fantasy worlds we'd call the dregs, the lower down part of the society, or just a country person, then you would be like, oh, well, you're a witch. There's no real distinction between mages and witches other than that.
Okay, yeah. But
Which
there's
is,
also like non-witches like in the world, or
oh, plenty. There's plenty of people who don't possess magical talents.
do
There
they
are,
hate on the witches or just mages?
oh, they hate the witches. They think mages are their, they're their government, their ruling body. They're the ones that protect them from the scary things in the night, because there are monsters as well. So, and monsters are different from animals. So there are normal, regular animals, and then you have monsters. So there's scary things in the night. So the mages protect them. They run the governments. They keep order. So the witches are just, scary people, scary people who have powers that these evil monsters have. And they kind of gloss over the fact that mages also have those same powers. But,
So like a bit of a hypocrisy they point out.
The book doesn't focus on the hypocrisy. It's not a philosophical book. It's just a fun tale about her trying to get rid of her nightmares and, trying to do so as best as she can. And she is actually a good person at heart. So she, unlike some of her previous witch companions, doesn't randomly just kill people.
Yeah, fair enough. I wouldn't like someone like that either.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also pointing out the weather's actually pretty, like, other than like the temperature, the sun's actually out pretty well.
Yeah,
Like the other days I've had, it's been like a little bit warmer, but like the clouds and rain and
yeah.
now sunshine and rainbows. Sasha, do you like to travel?
Oh, yeah.
Well, lucky for you, this video is brought to you by Nick's Melbourne Tours. If you're local or planning to visit Victoria, we have the perfect tours for you. From wine tours in Yarra Valley Winery, 12 Apostles, Puff and Billy, Melbourne City tours, Penguin Parades, and all the way to Sovereign Hill Gold Rush and much more. What are you waiting for? Click the link below and hop on a call today. I think your little sponsor segment, gotta do it.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
Hopefully they're gonna start actually paying. But we don't have that.
One of these days, don't worry.
Hopefully.
It's like with all business, right? You don't start with like something that's fully fledged out and properly set up. This idea of businesses start up like that it's a silly notion. Businesses usually start up with two people who are willing to exchange, services for something, right? That's how they start. And then once you grow big enough, that's when you start, paying everybody, making sure they're being paid properly, documenting everything. But to begin with, usually it's not like that. Usually businesses are quite organic when they start.
Yeah, because I'm gonna have to start contacting a few this week just for the Sunday, because I'm hoping, because I have a very big video project on Sunday 26th. It's kind of like a Mr. Beast style video in Melbourne City. And I'm looking for a sponsor just so like it'll be more entertaining with a bigger cash reward or prize.
Yeah.
And I feel like it'll be the perfect opportunity to get a local sponsor in Melbourne City, where while I'm filming the video, we can make a stop by, do a 5-minute sponsor segment there. and have it continue like the storyline of the challenge, the game.
Yeah.
So that way it doesn't really feel like an ad, so people don't even skip it as much because they'll miss
Yeah.
out on some of the lore or the story. And yeah, just really hoping to get that done. So I don't know if anyone has a business in Melbourne wants to sponsor the video, like go for it. Just shoot us a message or email or comment. And yeah, it'll be awesome. It's basically a manhunt. Like I'm not sure if you've seen the extreme tag by Mr. Beast.
Yeah, I've seen some of it. So
Mm.
I know of his crazy stuff. Yeah, so it'll
Yeah.
be a similar thing in a similar vein, right?
Pretty much, but a little more crazy. Like Mr. Beast, he's a bit of the hush hush level because he buys like a specific like venue to do it in, like he does in an arena or in like a
Yeah.
hospital that's abandoned. But I'm doing across like this huge map of Melbourne City, from the Melbourne City area and also Port Melbourne area and Albert Park area, which is a lot of like kilometers squared.
Yeah.
And also public transport is allowed, so people can hop on that, and I'm gonna have to chase them down. I have their GPS locations, they don't have mine. Every time my tag's on, they become one of the taggers. People have orange wristbands. If they're a survivor, if they get tagged, they take it off and start hunting with the GPS. And I think maybe 3 hours, I was thinking 5 hours for the challenge, give them that much time, but I think because of like mobiles and mobile data and GPS, I think that might drain batteries, so might have to lower the game time to 3 hours.
Yeah.
Have everyone film on their phone as well in selfie mode and stuff, their perspectives and stuff like that. Have it edited all together. And that's pretty much the majority of it.
That's a huge task.
It's a big one. And I so far have 13 confirmed contestants.
Oh, nice.
With a couple more maybes and a few more people that haven't got to me. So
that's good.
It'll be big one. I have a GoPro as well, mounted on my chest, and even like a potential cameraman for free. But
very nice.
if I get sponsors, then
Yeah,
be paid. Yeah.
Oh,
That'd be awesome.
that sounds like it will be a lot of fun.
A lot of fun. And I give them a 45-minute head start.
That's plenty of time.
It is, yeah. So, and we're starting at Fed Square, right next to Flinders Street Station. So I'm thinking some of them might hop on that. Just a little hunch feeling. But
yeah.
They can run, but they can't hide. So.
And they have to stay within the bounds of the area that you're hunting them in. So yeah.
It's kind of like a Fortnite map, kind of how it looks.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's awesome, and I'm hoping to do more of those sorts of games in the future. But yeah, so that's just a little about why I need a sponsor desperately, kind of.
See how it goes.
Yeah. I also thought of some like different sponsorship models as well, like 500 for this sort of like segment where it's like a separate clip where I'm basically reading a script saying, check out the website, and then I have like the website B-roll, and then also a $1,000 package where it's more personalized, like 5 minutes actually at the location filming and making it part of the actual video. And then, yeah, more packages after that, so. But yeah, back to the actual podcast itself, right?
Sure.
Hopefully didn't bore you with all of my
No,
sponsorship and stuff.
It's important. It's important. That's how podcasts work.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they have so many sponsors nowadays. Sometimes they have like 10 different sponsors.
And they have to, because YouTube money is getting a little bit less profitable. So it's just the way it is.
Yeah, and also a lot of people out there using browsers like browser where they don't see any ads on YouTube for free. Which, if you're out there using it, you know.
People will do what people do. You can't really control it.
Yeah. To be fair, I do kind of use it. YouTube don't demonetize this or flag this for name dropping, but yeah, stuff like that also makes YouTubers take a little cost away from their ad revenue.
Yeah, well, I just watch the ads. It's not a big deal. You can always hit skip.
Yeah, true. So remember that. Always hit skip, but always watch it. Don't block it. Follow the rules and terms and conditions. Yeah. But yeah. And also, on the topic of like YouTube or podcasts and stuff, actually, yeah, on that topic, what sorts of creators do you watch or have watched in the past if you don't watch currently?
I've watched plenty of there's some creators that do gaming news that I've watched. I've watched quite a bit of political stuff recently.
Penguin Z, Moist Critical, I think.
No, Penguin Z or Moist Critical, but I've been watching a bunch of political stuff. And then other than that, not much really. I mean, on an odd occasion, I'll watch some kind of science thing or whatever to learn something new. But yeah, usually it tends to be just either gaming news, people talking about games, or some kind of political stuff to keep in touch with what's going on in the world. Unfortunately, regular news sources can be very biased nowadays. I'm sure they have always been, and people just haven't noticed until now, but they can be incredibly biased nowadays. So, yeah, the only way to really stay informed is knowing a lot of people or watching a lot of things.
That's true, yeah. And it's kind of funny when we have people in high positions like the Prime Minister himself on public at the National Press Club talking about how the Australian people, and it's kind of their fault that they're not using mainstream media anymore and they're going to their phones for their information, which I feel like is a bit kind of desensitizing in a little way, where you're saying that mainstream media is the right way and that it's their fault for misinforming themselves by going to their devices instead.
Now, I'm no one who really particularly likes the current Prime Minister or any of the Prime Ministers we've had. But you got to understand a little bit that the people that pay their bills are not taxpayers. Let's put it that way. And because the people that pay their bills are not taxpayers, I don't think he has much of a choice but to say that.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. So I wouldn't read too much into that. I think it is very unwise to be saying that it's people's fault for mainstream media not surviving very well. They've done it to themselves. We live in a capitalist society. We don't live in a communist society. So you live and die by the dollars or attention you generate. And to say that magically, oh, it's just the public's fault is kind of silly. It's like to say, it's capitalism's fault that they're failing. No, it's their own fault for not being able to attract attention and have people
stay competitive in the market.
Yeah, and stay competitive in the market and pivot. It's like I'm not upset about my book not doing very well because I did a little bit of trying to get attention drawn to it, but not enough. Right, so unless you're competitive, of course, or have a really good product that people notice, of course it's going to be like that. With mainstream media, they take sponsorships from a lot of places. They avoid dangerous, controversial topics. They have been practicing doing gotcha pieces a lot for a long time, probably for the past 15 years or even 20 years. Eventually that wears away public trust in you to the point where people are like, why am I even watching this? So now they're getting out-competed. That's what happens.
Yeah, true. And also, when you see how so many news networks read the same script or same lines, and they're just basically a copy of each other, spreading the mainstream narrative.
As I said before, they are paid for by sponsors and other interest groups. So, of course, they end up sounding exactly like each other. And because they sound exactly like each other, they turn around and go, oh, actually, this is how it truly happened. That's why we sound exactly like each other, because we're telling the truth. And then anyone who says the wrong thing gets name-called, not debated on their ideas properly, but name-called and shunned like some kind of pariah. It happens all the time.
Yeah. Or just taken off the air.
Well, that's what I mean. And then, why did you take him off the air? Because he's such and such. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Oh, the camera's breaking up.
Oh, is it?
No, I'm just saying
Oh,
yeah,
right,
yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so that tends to be the way they do it. And, you know, you can just character assassinate someone, and if enough people believe it, then that's all you need to do. You know, other things cause a lot more difficulties, obviously.
Yeah. And then going back to Japan and on that course, I believe you definitely have not. I mean, this is obviously not going to be your first time in Japan. How many
No,
times have you been in Japan? And could you remember the first experiences or first day you've had in Japan and what it was like?
I think I've been there. I might get this wrong because my memory is not amazing, but I think I've been there about 3 times before, maybe 4. And the first time I came, it felt like a festival, obviously, because Keiko's parents and family really wanted me to feel welcome. They really wanted me to like Japan, to have a good impression of it. So it really felt like a festival, and, you know, all these wonderful things, everything's really nice. But, you know, you don't get the real picture of a country by just the first visit. But that's how it kind of felt. It was very nice, very clean, very very quiet, which was very nice as well. I like the fact that people aren't just randomly yelling on the street or beeping their cars or whatever. It's actually quite nice and quiet.
The cars are loud though still. Some of them.
Yeah, in some places, but not where her parents live. Her parents live in the suburbs, so it's actually quite nice. So that's how I found my first trip. The first trip we also saw the White Castle. I forget what it's called. It's a famous one. We actually went inside and went up it. It was really interesting to see, because you get an idea of how historically they thought was best to protect an area, viewpoints and things like that. But now I'm going into the first trip. It's the overall thing is it was very interesting, kind of very festival, visiting all the relatives, visiting all the sites, busy as well. Yeah, that was the first visit. It was like.
And then when did you really start learning Japanese, the language?
When I was dating my wife, one day, actually earlier probably. To be fair, I did do Japanese in high school. I did it for a year, I think. Something like that. And I have watched anime for a while too, but that doesn't help that as much as people think.
Which animes?
All sorts. All sorts.
Dragon Ball?
Not as much as you'd think. Dragon Ball is not.
JoJo's Bizarre Adventure?
No, I'm avoiding it. My son watches it and he loves it, but no, I'm avoiding it. I'll watch it when I feel like silliness, you know. There's certain animes you watch that I feel like being silly and watch them.
One Piece?
One of the silly ones as well. I did watch some One Piece, but I haven't watched much. No, I've watched Full Metal Alchemist. There's too many to mention.
Gudetama?
Hmm?
Gudetama?
What is Kuritama?
Gudetama, it's like the egg cartoon, egg anime.
No, I have not watched the egg anime. But I've watched plenty.
One Punch Man?
Yes, definitely. I've watched all of One Punch Man. It's unfortunate that it's not as good in the last season, but I've watched all of One Punch Man.
Unfortunate that they stopped at that point. I think it could have continued. I think the books continued, but the series stopped short.
Yeah, they've had a second season, so I've watched that. But it's more that they're waiting for the books to continue far enough for them to be able to have enough material to do another season. That tends to be the case.
Probably, yeah.
And so it just takes time. But no, I've watched plenty. But again, that doesn't help with Japanese language that much unless you're utilizing it properly.
Yu-Gi-Oh?
I did watch some Yu-Gi-Oh. It's a bit of a shameful thing. When I was younger, I did watch some Yu-Gi-Oh. But
Pokemon?
yes. But yeah, no, I started learning like with a actual goal to learn it when I was with my wife, and I think I learned hiragana and katakana in 2 days. So I did that in a rush. Then I focused on pronunciation for a couple of days to make sure that my pronunciation of each sound was as close as I could to my wife's, because I don't like doing things in a half-assed kind of way. And then, yeah, since then it's just been picking up small vocabulary like passively. It hasn't been like a proper push, which I will have to do when I go to Japan and start learning it. I have been trying to read subtitles less though, because that focuses you to focus on the words that are actually being said and then try and understand it through context, which is the way that you should be using anime if you're going to use it to learn some of the words. But yeah, there are techniques you can use to increase your vocabulary in a fun way.
Duolingo?
Duolingo, I found out wasn't really. I've used it for a while. I found it wasn't that great. Only because it teaches language in the same way you learn it at school, like, cue cards and like rote learning, which I've found isn't actually how our brains work with language. So it helps, yeah, but it's not the best, I find. It's good as a supplementive, learning it a different way, like actually talking to Japanese people, and then a supplementive of like doing Duolingo on the
Doing
side.
some fun in your free time.
Yeah, and supplementing what you're learning. But the main thing is to learn as many words as you can, and learning to read is not as important as I first thought.
Yeah, because usually, or at least in my experience of learning languages, I usually start with saying and sounding right rather than learning the alphabet or the hiragana, katakana. Like, I usually try to speak it first before understanding how to write or read.
That's probably the right way to do it. The right way meaning that you have a better chance not to have an accent, that you have a better understanding of how the language works. And then once you have had enough vocabulary and you're actually able to speak it at some level, then you go, okay, can I find the words in kanji? Can I actually start reading it? Can I learn the actual structure of the language? I guess you could learn the structure first because that does help with speaking. But, like you pick and choose what's useful as opposed to, this is the definite way you have to do it. And I think, yeah, learning to speak it first is probably much better. And then if you like watching Japanese crime dramas or whatever it is you're into. Anime not as... No, it's not as good because the words they use there aren't necessarily the words that you would use in normal day life. Japanese podcasts, I've watched 1 or 2 now. That helps because you're listening to spoken language of 2 people who are speaking just off the cuff. And I would say that to anyone who was wanting to learn English as well. Watch podcasts, watch movies.
Like this one?
Yeah, watch podcasts, watch movies. Maybe watch some cartoony things, maybe, but not so much. Look for things that are set in the real world, which of course makes it really difficult for me because I don't particularly like to live in the real world in terms of just the media I consume. But yeah, things that are in the real world means that you're going to pick up more useful words.
And also with watching actual videos with like live action people speaking.
Exactly.
You can also see the mouth movements and stuff, whereas cartoons, it's kind of like...
Yeah, exactly. And then once you have enough words, like plenty of them, and most of the sounds that are produced in the language, that's when you start reading. Because then you actually know, oh, this is how it's spoken. This is how I meant to read it. Unless, unlike if you start reading it first, then you end up in your head going, oh, this is the way it sounds. This is the way I think it sounds. And you have an accent because the way you think it sounds is almost never the way it actually sounds.
And also the way you kind of read words in your head can be a bit off than how you actually sound.
And it depends on like the language you're from. And that's why you get accents from, you know, an Italian speaking person will have a different accent from a, you know.
Or a Russian man will have a different accent to an Englishman.
Exactly, because of the sounds that they already have, and they transpose those onto the words they're reading, and then it becomes more and more reinforced so that when they have to learn the English language by talking to people, it's very difficult for them to go, okay, my sound is wrong and I should change it. Instead, they're like, no, my sound's fine. I understand it. So who cares? Which is fine. But like, again, it depends on how pedantic you are. You know, if you really want to be speaking the language as close to the culture you're in, then yeah, you would make an effort. But if you don't, then it's fine. All power to you. Just enjoy speaking the language with an accent. It's fine.
Yeah.
But don't be surprised when people can't understand sometimes.
Definitely, yeah. And going back to Japanese language, how do I say a few different greetings? And if I were to go there, what are the most common phrases that I should learn and how do I say them?
So for greetings, I think I know most of them, but you'll need to double check these. Always double check what someone teaches you, just in case. Especially if it's the person who's learnt it themselves, which is what I have. So there is, in the morning, Ohayo, which is good morning. Usually for politeness, you say Ohayo gozaimasu.
Ohayo gozaimasu.
Then for during the day, it's konnichiwa.
Konnichiwa.
And then for evenings, when it's in the evening or nighttime, konbanwa.
Konbanwa.
Close.
Yeah, that didn't feel Japanese.
Konbanwa.
Wa. Konbanwa.
It's better to learn I did it in an English way just then. It's better to learn the actual Japanese, what do they call them? Particles. Ko, ba, wa. That's like the proper way, right? And then you have to speed it up, obviously.
Ko, ba, wa.
Ah, I see. You're doing English N, that's why. Their N is in the back of the mouth. Not a big deal.
Oh, yeah.
Not a big deal.
And also on that,
yeah.
with the pronunciation, how do I make the voice or how do I make the right sound? Do I have to make it more deeper or?
Oh, the pitch is not a big deal. You just copy other people for the most part, right? Because their pitch stuff isn't as difficult as Chinese or whatever, because they have a lot of, like, some words have different meanings based on the pitch. But for Japanese, from what I've found, you don't need to worry about it as much. There are some blends, there's not many, which you would see them as a separate sound. But when they're written, you see, oh, actually it's a blend of two sounds. And then, yeah, there's not much when it comes to, like, loudness of the voice. Definitely don't need it. Most Japanese people are softly spoken. Again, exaggeration. Most as in most of the ones that I've talked to. There are, of course, the tougher guys out there that'll be a little bit more assertive. But compared to an American or an Australian or a New Zealander, you know, not really. They tend to prefer to be strong, few words spoken, as opposed to strong and, you know, over the top, loud. So
I've heard or at least from what I've heard, there might be deeper voices or sound, or they might sound deep when they speak it versus other languages like English or people who speak Russian.
I haven't noticed such a thing. I do notice it with men. They tend to speak in a deeper tone, and women tend to speak in a higher tone to be a bit more docile, I guess, because they do have this kind of separation of the sexes that is now much less than before, but it's kind of still there. So when it comes to the way I speak, I probably speak like my wife, to be honest. And that's probably not going to change until I have some male friends, because, that's who I learned from. But yeah, I wouldn't worry about it that much, really, because from when I was learning the hiragana by myself, and using my wife as an example, obviously, for some of the sounds, it's just, you just need to make sure that the sounds are correct, and then you learn the words. That's it.
Yeah. And then moving forward, what were the most common phrases?
Oh, right. Yes, of course. Common phrases, arigato, and of course, to be polite, arigato gozaimasu.
Arigato gozaimasu.
Close.
Arigato gozaimasu.
It's better to break it down. So, ari
Ga
ga to
to
u. That's a blend. To, right?
to.
Yeah. So, arigato.
Arigato.
You let the u be softer because
okay.
it kind of disappears, but it's arigato.
Arigato.
And then go za
i
ma
su.
But the u on the su disappears. So arigato gozaimasu.
Arigato gozaimasu.
No, but it's okay. Like I said before, just listen to people say it over and over again.
Yeah.
Try and copy it, and listen to yourself when you speak, and then slowly adjust. That's the best way.
Yeah.
So arigato gozaimasu is thank you very much. Then
Itadakimasu.
Itadakimasu. Thank you for the. Oh well, let's have this wonderful meal you prepared. Essentially, what it boils down to. That's not the direct translation. That's the feeling that comes with it. Then there's gochisousama. Thank you for the meal. So itadakimasu. I'm about to eat your wonderful meal. Gochisousama. Thank you for your wonderful meal.
Gochisousama.
Gochiso.
Oh, gochi-sama.
Gochisousama.
Gochi-sama.
No, but it's okay. Gochisousama.
Itadakimasu.
Yeah.
Gochi-sama.
Close. Gochiso.
Gochisousama.
Yeah, and now you just speed it up. Gochisousama.
Gochi-sama.
No. Do you hear yourself, man? Sort of. No, I'm not paying attention to it. I just want to get it right and move on. Gochiso.
Gochiso.
Sama.
Sama. Gochiso-sama.
Yeah, gochiso-sama. So that's thank you for the meal. And then
Jankenpong.
Hmm?
Jankenpong.
Jankenpong, not useful at all. You can learn it, but it's you're not going to be doing that very often, unless you're with kids. Then there's sumimasen.
Sumimasen.
Yeah, so that's excuse me. That's also used as a kind of a polite sort of, I'm going to be in your way. So if you're going to be moving past someone, sumimasen. If you're speaking poor Japanese, which happens with me, sumimasen.
Sumimasen.
The deepness didn't help, but the pronunciation was good. So yeah, that's useful. Then
Chotto mate.
yeah, chotto, a little bit, but that's not that useful actually. Mate kudasai is please wait, but again, I don't find that very useful.
Mate kudasai.
There's kochi,
Kochi.
which is something over here.
Kochi.
Sochi, something with you over there.
Sochi.
And I think it's achi, but I might be wrong. You need to check it, which is something over there.
Achi.
So away from both of us.
Oh, okay.
So that's positional. So if you're like, when you're in a shop, you're like, kochi nan desu ka? which is nan desu ka is what is it? So kochi nan desu ka?
Kochi
What
nan
is-
desu ka?
What is this thing, right? But if it's far away from you and the shopkeeper, you can be like sochi nan desu ka? Which is
Sochi nan desu ka?
so. I don't think they'll mind if you just use kochi for everything, but that's the correct, Sorry, sochi is with them, but it doesn't matter. Like honestly, as long as you're trying.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if it's near them, you say Sochi. And it just helps them with positional. And then,
Nani?
yeah, nani, what? Yeah, I think so. Again, I might be getting
Senpai?
these wrong because, I'm working from memory and my Japanese isn't that great. My pronunciation might be okay, but my understanding is not the best. So I might be getting some of these wrong. But
Sensei.
sensei. I'm hardly a sensei. I guess I'm your sensei right now. But yeah, so I think those are the main ones. And of course, ego ii desu ka? Can we speak in English? Ego ii desu ka?
Ego ii desu ka?
Yeah. And then wakaranai, which is I don't know.
What's karanai?
Wakaranai.
Wakarenai.
Wakaranai?
Wakarenai.
Yeah, that's close enough. Yeah, wakaranai. And, there's the formal one, which is wakarimasen, but wakaranai is close enough.
Wakaremasen. Wakaremasen.
Yeah, which is I don't understand. And then,
Sugoi.
yeah, sugoi. Sugoi, ii desu. You're doing well.
Ii desu.
It's good.
Watashi wa ii desu.
I would never say that. No. Humble is the best way to be polite in Japan.
Yeah.
At least from my experience, being humble is the best way to be polite. Once you know someone, they're more likely to be like, whatever. But being humble is usually the polite thing to do to begin with.
Watashi wa chisai.
You're hardly small, but yeah, so I think those are the main ones. Yeah, and then of course you can also say Nihongo wakaranai, which means I don't understand Japanese.
Nihongo wakarenai.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think those are the main useful ones because then, a lot of people have pidgin English, so they kind of know some bits and words of English and they'll try and help. So for the most part, I think that's enough to really get you through. I mean, there are things like how much something costs. You probably should look that up. I don't remember what it is because again, I just like when I go there, I'm like, I will take this one and then just some money. Like I don't worry about how much it costs. I can usually just read the number and the yen symbol. I know what it looks like. So
Nan desu ka yen?
nan desu ka is what is it? What is it, yen? What is it, money?
That could work.
No, the ikura nan desu ka, I think. Ikura is how much?
Ikura nan desu ka?
Yeah, so that's the sentence, I think. Yeah. Then
Sayonara.
there's also daijoubu.
Or daijobu.
Daijoubu means you're okay, but it also you can use it with a question in upping of the tone daijoubu as a question. Are you okay?
Daijobu?
Yeah, daijoubu.
Daijobu?
Yeah. And then of course you'll hear people say daijoubu. Well, you won't because that's not polite, but you'll hear something along those lines.
Watashi wa daijobu.
Yeah. Watashi.
Yeah.
Well, I would never use watashi, but because when you're speaking, they will assume you're speaking about yourself. And then if you're talking about someone else, they'd be assuming whoever you're looking towards is who you're talking about. So, kimi, watashi, you don't hear them very often. You do hear them, but you don't hear them very often unless the context is very confusing.
Yeah.
Like in a larger group of people, perhaps.
But there's no pointing.
Pointing's very rude.
Daijobu. Daijobu.
That's very rude. So no, there's no pointing. There's hand waving.
Oh,
There's hand waving, but you don't point.
like political, like 4 fingers.
No, it's just like this,
like
you know, like you know.
大丈夫?
こっちは Vlad です.
私は Vlad です.
Over here is Vlad. This is basically what I said. So, and then when you're introducing yourself, it's, you know, you say your name and hajimemashite, which is pleasure to meet you. So,
はじめまして.
yeah, hajimemashite. It's not an easy one. There's a lot of little sounds in there. Hajimemashite.
はじめまして.
Hajimemashite.
はじめまして.
Close. You're not going to get it the first time round.
Probably not,
And
yeah.
I probably didn't get it the first time round either. I had to practice. But yeah, so
私は日本語小さい.
ちょっとわかる.
ちょっとわかり? 何?
わかる. Wakaru is the positive tense of understand.
わかる.
Wakaranai is the negative tense of you don't understand.
Okay.
So wakaru, ちょっとわかる.
Those sound similar.
Yes, because
Wait,
there
so-
is a nai that's attached at the end
Okay.
of wakaru to make it the negative version.
Okay.
So there are things like that around the place. When it
私はわかりない?
Yeah, that's close enough. Wakaranai. Yeah, close enough. Yeah, so definitely yeah, I think that's all. I can't think of anything else.
Sushi?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there are the things you can look up, like where can I find sushi or something like that. But if I was going to go for something that complicated as a tense, I would probably first ask them if they can speak English,
Yeah, okay.
to be honest.
Mm.
Or another good thing to have is a map. If you have a map, or you put up on your phone the place you're looking for, you can show it to them and then you say, what's the word for way? Doko, I think. Doko, I think.
Doko?
Is where. I don't remember how to make it into a sentence though. And then you can be like, kochi doko desu ka?
Doko desu ka?
Yeah, and then they'll be like, wakaranai, which means they don't know. Or they will be like, oh, you, in Japanese, they'll reply to you, you go over there and you go over there. But if you ask them, ego ii desu ka, then maybe they might be able to tell you in English how to get there. But you have to be patient because, they've, as we've discussed before, if you learn English from books, the same way as if you learn Japanese from books, you'll have a heavy accent and it'll be difficult to understand. So just take your time, listen to them carefully, and yeah.
Yeah. And then I think I've heard gohan.
Gohan is food.
Oh, just food in general.
The literal translation is rice, but cooked rice, but it actually just basically means meal. Yeah.
Yeah.
So unless you're talking about rice, then you'd point to it, or not point to it, you wave to it, you go, gohan. You know?
Gohan. You wave to it?
No, you don't say hello to it, but you know, you motion towards it, you know?
Gohan.
Oh, no. When you're asking where to eat, you would be like, mise, I think is shop. You'd probably say gohan hoshi, which is I want food.
Gohan hoshi?
Doko mise, I think mise, you need to look up what shop is, but doko mise desu ka? And then it's like, where's a shop? And then by the context of you wanting food, they might be able to point you towards. But again, like I said, it's best to just look these things up. You know, the useful phrases tend to be the things you'll be using the most. Arigato. Sumimasen.
Chotto mate.
You really like chotto mate, don't
I do,
you?
yeah.
Yeah. Usually you'd say kudasai afterwards to be polite, because getting anyone to do anything is a bit pushy. And as I said before, humble is the most polite thing you can do. So being pushy is not seen as the best. I mean, some people find it cute, so you have that going for you. Yeah, but yeah, some people who, especially ones that just like their peace and quiet, will find it a bit abruptive and not.
Sumimasen.
Exactly, right? And then you say sumimasen. Sumimasen, gaijin desu, which is obvious, but gaijin is foreigner.
Oh, foreigner. Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
gaijin.
Yeah.
Gaijin.
But yeah, so
Sumimasen, watashi wa gaijin desu ka?
des. Ka is
Des.
question. Watashi wa gaijin desu ka? Am I actually a foreigner? Who knows? But yeah.
Yeah. And then if I were to say, oh yeah, miso is like soup.
Miso is a specific soup, yes.
Yeah.
It's a specific, I think, seaweed soup. I might be wrong. Because it's made out of, I forget, some kind of fermented something. I forget. I think. But that might be miso. Again, that's why I'm saying my understanding of Japanese is like bare minimum, so look these things up. Yeah.
And then soccer is said how? How do you say soccer in Japanese?
Soccer.
Or football?
Football.
Oh, football.
Yeah, it's an English word, so they have thrown it into katakana, which is what they use for foreign words, and then they pronounce it with their elements. That's why I said if you learn the hiragana elements, you learn them really well. Make sure you pronounce each one of them properly. Then when you're trying to put words together, you have less of mistakes because your brain already knows the tools it's using.
Australia. How do you say Australia?
Australia.
Katakana.
Australia desu. I don't know. I'd say it in English because I've never said it in Japanese. But football I have.
Football.
Yeah. Because they've got a sound for fu, and then they have a sound for u, and then you have fu.
And then two. They have a sound for two.
Yeah. Yeah. To. There's ta, chi, tsu, te, to. They don't have tu, they have tsu. So you wouldn't use tsu because it doesn't sound like football. It doesn't sound
It's
right.
like futsal.
So it'll be futo because that's the closest. So futo, boru.
Football.
Yeah, football.
Football.
Yeah.
And how do I say run?
Hashire. That's run. Hashire.
Hashire.
Football. Ippai hashire. I don't know how to say running in that tense. They have different endings for tenses, like other languages, but I just don't remember all of them.
ちょっと待って、私は走れ。
走る。
走る。走る。
I am going to run. I don't know if it's going to run or going. Oh, I'm running. Yeah.
走るですか?
Yeah. 走れない。嫌い。I'm not gonna run. I don't like it. I think kirai is more stronger. I think it's hate, but whatever. It's close enough.
すごいniya. Or what's the negative term at the end?
Nagai is long, so I don't remember. I don't remember what long is. Nagai is long as in like long piece of thread, but I don't know if that's the same for distance. And I don't know what's short because I don't remember it. But yeah, chotto hashiru. Run for a little bit. That's your chotto word again.
Oppa. Wait, is it oppa?
Nani oppa?
Oppa or oppo. Wait. Chisai. Oppo.
Oh, oki.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Oki. I'm like,
Oki.
oppa is a bit close to something that you shouldn't be saying, I think.
Oh, really?
I don't remember exactly what it is. I think. I don't remember.
Hmm.
But yeah, oki is what the word you're looking for. Chisai, oki. Nagai, I don't remember.
Nagai Oki. Big run.
Ah, you wouldn't say big run
You
because
could?
nagai is already long. So nagai hashuru, nagai run basically you'd say.
Nagai Sugoi Opi. Or Sugoi
Oki.
Opi Oki. No, Sugoi Oki Nagai.
Sugoi nagai. Why would you need oki?
Because it's an extra big run.
No, sugoi nagai.
Okay. Super run.
Hmm?
Super run. That's what I mean.
Sugoi just means bigger. Like
Oh, really?
it's just sugoi can be like great or big, or it could be sugoi like really over the top, or it's used for many things because the feeling is like great, I guess.
私はすごい.
You have way too much fun to say that you're like the greatest thing ever.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Yeah. Now's the first time I'll check this. I think we're doing pretty good. Oh, yeah. ちょっと待って.
Yo.
Did you do any clubs or societies when you were in uni? And if so, which ones?
No,
Okay.
that's the short answer.
Damn.
No, because when I was younger, I didn't care for anything but games, writing.
Did you go to PAX?
No. Again,
Oh, okay.
an introvert like me going out. No, I just
Yeah.
stay inside, play my games,
Fair enough, yeah.
write some books.
And which games?
At that stage, I think at that stage I was doing some online games. I did Warhammer Online, I think.
PC or console?
PC. Almost all my gaming is on PC. Warhammer Online, as well as League of Legends a little bit. And but I play all sorts. The games I enjoy most, I would say, strategy games, where not necessarily real-time strategy games because I don't have the time to think because I enjoy thinking, but turn-based ones I do enjoy quite a bit.
Yeah.
And story-based games as well, like RPGs are not that bad. But yeah, so that's what I would be mainly playing back then. I think I also played through Dragon Age as well at that stage during my uni years. It's hard to remember. And then on the only other platform that I played on was the Wii. I was playing Harvest Moon. Not Harvest Moon. It was Rune Factory. Sorry, they're similar games. Yeah. So I think that's what I was playing back then. But all sorts of games. I played all sorts of games for a long time. And eventually I hope to make some games myself. But again, one of these projects that maybe one day.
I mean, nowadays we have AI software where you can ask it to code up a game and then you can ask it to fix it.
Oh, yes. Yes, I know. I work in IT, so I'm very well aware of AI and its shortcomings. And unfortunately, there's quite a few shortcomings. Essentially, because of what the architecture it's based on is trying to mimic a human brain, it has the same problems as a human brain. And it makes similar mistakes. Like, oh, I think I remember this is the way it is, and they'll tell you, and even though it's completely wrong, it matches the pattern, but it's basically lied to you by accident. So that happens a lot.
Yeah.
Especially when it doesn't actually know the answer. So
might be different in specific like coding AIs because they're using their own language rather than trying to imitate the human's brain of
No,
typing
no,
stuff
no,
out?
no, no. This is the fundamental understanding that misunderstanding rather, that people have about AI. They think of it as some kind of amazing thing that gets taught and can learn and, you know, has its own language. If you place it in its own language, it'll somehow become smarter. No, no. The fundamental problem is the way it's designed. It is designed on neural networks. Neural networks are basically what we have in our head.
That's the name.
That's the way they fire off. So because it's based on neural networks, when you train it, you're setting up a whole bunch of what they call weights. What this does is it creates a pattern recognition system for whatever you trained it for. So if you train it for let's say a simple game where a figurine walks, if you train it long enough, you can get this neural network to understand how to move each part of that fake body you have on the screen to get it motion forward. It might not look like walking though. It might be like on all fours, like a weird spider kind of thing, because it has figured out that if it throws itself, it can get towards its target. And then you'll have to give it extra things that it has to do to be able to actually get it to do what you want it to do. The reason why I explain that is because essentially these neural networks that get trained and they do pattern recognition. They get a pattern, they spit out an answer. There's no thought. It's just the answer for this pattern. So if you say dog, it might come back with, fluffy companion. Or it might come back with, depending on chance a lot of the time, because it grabs the top results. And then for a language model that like chatbots do, it'll grab the top results and it'll just pick one, usually with some kind of randomness to it, because all the results are quite correct. And then it'll come back with like that, fluffy companion or Dalmatian or some kind of breed of a dog just back at you because it matches the pattern. You said dog, I say some kind of dog. But almost never will it say cat, almost never will it say animal, which are also correct answers if you just say dog. Because a dog is an animal, and a dog is an animal like a cat is, and they're both on 4 legs and they're both fluffy. So it does direct, this is the match of the pattern. It doesn't do more steps unless you have code around it. I've been having to use AI recently for my work a little bit, and I've learned a lot about how it works. And yeah, I've got a personal project for myself as well, where I'm going to try and build one. Early stages, didn't get very far yet, but it's got problems, some serious problems for it to actually be what people are speaking about nowadays. They're talking about, AGI, which is, general intelligence, artificial general intelligence, AGI, those networks that are AGI are just huge neural networks, and they're still just doing pattern matching. Oh, but it can think then. No, they tend to just feed it back into itself in a loop to try and get an answer that's more correct, which mimics thinking, but it's still just pattern matching. Now, there is a group of people in AI that believe that our intelligence is only pattern matching. If that's the case, then I don't think we'd be able to tackle the difficult problems and be able to apply solutions from one field to a different field that has very little to do with it. Like the way that we learned how to make airplanes was guys were watching birds fly. And then they built something to mimic the same wings and the same airflow around the wing to be able to build an airplane. That is not a direct one-to-one. That is a completely separate, bird watching. You're just watching it do stuff. And then to apply that to aerodynamics and aircraft is completely...
Yeah.
They're 2 separate ideas, right? You have to take a few steps and have a goal to reach that to actually get there. Now, that's not to say AI can't be incredibly useful and incredibly smart-like, and to appear thinking. a lot of the time when you're talking to AI people who know that it doesn't think, they'll say that it thinks only because it's easier to describe it that way, honestly. Yeah, AI is still incredibly powerful, but it's only as clever and intelligent as what it's been taught on. And if you grab the results from an AI and feed it to an AI, it'll be like a copy of a copy. You'll get worse and worse results until the point where it's completely unusable. So yeah, AI fakes intelligence reasonably well at the moment, but it's not really intelligent. A perfect example of this is asking it to use a code base that it wasn't trained for. So one of the code bases that I have to work with regularly is called Progress. It's a 4th level language. That's not going to mean much to you, but essentially...
Because I've never heard of that one. Like, there's Python, C++.
Yeah, I use Python all the time. I've used C++ back in my uni days. I still use it nowadays for my own coding projects sometimes. For prototyping, I use Python now because it's just easier to code in because it's got duck typing and you don't have to worry so much about things. But yeah, no, Progress is a proprietary language, which means that it's not open to public to be used anywhere, as opposed to C++ and Python and things like that, which are open source languages. So all the open source languages you'll have heard of because companies just build their product on that because it's open source, they don't have to pay for it. Like I said before, businesses don't usually start by heavy investment. They usually start with something that's cheap and easy to get off the ground. They start getting some revenue. They start seeing, oh, actually people are interested in this thing that I'm trying to sell them. And then they usually convert over to using other solutions if they're useful. So that's why open source is basically everywhere now, because it's free, essentially. That being said, it's not fully free because, like I said, everything has consequences. So if you go open source, there are consequences with that. But there's just trade-offs. So yeah. So anyway, back to what I was saying. Progress is one of the languages I use, and if you get AI to try and use it, it has no idea. Now, if you grab an AI and grab all the Progress code you've ever found, and maybe grab a couple of different companies' Progress code, which would be highly illegal, but if you did do that, and you shove it all into the AI, then potentially you could train it to guess at what the next word is, because that's all that these large language models do. They just guess the next word, and they keep guessing the next word until they finish the sentence. That's all they do. So you could potentially guess out a program properly that would work in Progress easily. But right now, it'll give you things like, oh, this particular function exists in Progress. It doesn't. I look at it and I go, I know it doesn't exist, but it still tells me that it exists. And then when you tell it, oh, it doesn't exist, can you fix your code? It might fix it, or it might just remove the part that wasn't working and say, look, it's fixed, even though the code doesn't actually do what it was meant to do in the first place. So that's why I said, like, it's just a pattern matching recognition system. Can it be good with some smarts around it? Of course. Currently, I'm trying to grab a free large language model. I'm using Llama 3. It's not great, but it doesn't matter. I just need something that works. And I'm now looking at using prompts, so the things that I say to it at the start of the conversation, to be able to teach it how to use a tool. And then when it replies with using this tool, I have my own code that would fire off the tool that it's trying to use. And that's basically how all your advanced Claude AI does stuff when it comes to using tools. It's literally just prompts go in, prompts come out. Oh, this prompt matches it trying to use a tool. Then it uses the tool. That's how they code it. And then if you wonder, oh, how do they make sure that the AI doesn't swear and do stuff like that, or get upset at a person who's swearing? They literally have prompts saying, this person just got upset at you, or this person has just used a swear word, or this person has just used this. And then it has pattern matching to say, oh, wait, that's outside the use policy of me. You can't do that, and end the conversation. But you see how it's all glued together with this idea of you feed a prompt comes back.
Yeah.
Do you think that's intelligence? No, that's just statistical matching. Now, not to say it's a really great tool. It's an amazing tool. It's a tool that's probably going to put out a lot of junior devs out of work, and has already put out a lot of designers out of work already. So it will continue doing that. But for you to use it properly and not have headaches where your product that the AI built malfunctions and you can't fix it because the AI doesn't know how to fix it either, because that can happen.
Mm-hmm.
You need to make sure you place in guardrails.
Yeah.
So you need to be able to say, look, no, you have to pass this test. Your code has to run, compile before I accept your code. So then it will use that tool, funnily enough, to run its own code and goes, the code runs. Now I can give you this as a solution, and things like that. You have to have a lot of these guardrails in place to actually get AI to get the statistical result that you're looking for, and not one that just breaks later down the line because it gave you a different result with different assumptions, completely ignoring what it gave you the first time, that would break your product. So as junior devs, yeah, AI is great as a junior dev. You tell it, I need this thing. And I've done that multiple times now. That's what I'm using it for at the moment. So I'd say, well, I'm trying to do this thing. Give me this in Python. And it would go, kaplonk, this is what I've got in Python. Will the code work? Not necessarily. There's no guarantee it'll work at all. So you run it, and you see where it's broken, and then you fix that. Like we would do with a junior dev. A junior dev doesn't write good code. They write you code that might work or might fall apart on you. And then usually you either go back to the junior dev, but the problem with AI, going back to it, is you have to make sure you have the rest of the context of the conversation to make sure that it knows, it has memory of what was said before, right? So that it can pattern match properly to go, oh, okay, let me fix it. And then you're again rolling the dice. It's a junior dev. It'll come back with something. Whether it works or not, that's for you to decide. So as a junior dev, yeah, 100% AI is very useful. Even language models that are not really well trained on coding will give you a logical idea of where to begin with. And it's very useful. Yeah, it once gave me a recursive loop that almost worked straight away. And that was nice. And for things that a lot of people have solved hundreds of times before, it will give you something that works usually.
Yeah.
But for things that it hasn't been trained on, or are kind of side weird problems or difficult things to build, it will almost always fail you. But that's not to say it won't give you a good starting point. So yeah, that's kind of like when I was building the tooling for the AI, I literally asked the AI, can you build me the prompts to build a tool for the AI? It didn't give me anything that useful, but I did get the structure of it, and then I went, oh, the structure's not too bad, and I used that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and most of the search engines will give you AI results now too at the top as well, if you haven't noticed.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. So because sometimes they give you something useful.
Yeah. And I guess if it's useful, sometimes it saves you a bit of time.
Oh, this recursive loop stuff saved me 5 hours of work. And, you know, that's a significant amount of money for the company.
Yeah.
So, yeah, of course, companies are shifting towards using AI because it will save them a lot of money. A lot of money. And when it comes to companies, it's all about investing as this is the sad part about capitalism. This is investing the smallest amount possible to get the best financial result as possible. So if you don't align that with what's good for people, then sometimes you get bad results.
Yeah. Because that reminds me, like, similarly, we used AI for Adobe Illustrator to make, like, the client's kind of ugly Excel sheet for all of their kind of products and stuff, and like random PNG images of pictures in the Excel document, and then used it to basically make a neater, like, nicer template in Adobe Illustrator. And then on top of that, we then just edited everything to make it look nicer for the client. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
As I said before, as a tool, it's amazing because it gives you something. And if you grab a junior dev and you tell him, give me something, he'll give you something. If you grab someone with 0 skills, they won't give you anything. So yeah, it's a really good tool. But yeah, definitely you need to have guardrails. You need to guide it. You need to grab its output and then edit it if needed. Yeah, even some of the most powerful AI, they're still in that way.
Yeah.
And it's incredibly wasteful. AI is incredibly wasteful. So this crappy AI model that I have, it takes up 3 gigs of RAM to run. 3 gigs of RAM. Most programs run at smaller amounts, much smaller amounts, but it needs 3 gigs of RAM for its model. And that's a crappy model.
In like the browser as well.
Oh, no. This was run on my computer on the command line. But it needs 3 gigs of RAM when it's being used. So it's huge, and it's not even that good, right? When it comes to Google's AI, ChatGPT and stuff like that, the online ones, they have huge data centers worth of computing behind it. For what? For you to find out where to eat tomorrow. It's not a good use of power, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, is it going to be profitable? Yes, if they can convert that sheer usability to profit, sure. But I think you'll find that in the next probably 5-10 years, a lot of people are going to lose a lot of money. Like, a lot of people are going to lose a lot of money as we find what AI is actually good for. It's like with the .com bubble.
Same.
So a lot of people lost a lot of money back then too. So similar thing will happen with AI, most definitely. Will it take over the world? Well, who knows? Maybe if someone actually changes the architecture it's built on, we might have a problem like that. At this point in time, we'll have a bigger problem of incompetence than AI taking over the world. If you want me to go into that.
Yeah.
I can go into that if you want, but yeah, I think incompetence is going to be the biggest problem we're going to have facing us in the near future, not AI taking over the world.
Too much reliance on it as well.
That's what I mean by incompetence. So when you have the next generation coming up, if you rely on AI too much, you don't actually build the skills you need. You build the skills to talk to the AI, sure, but you don't build the skills you need.
You also shrink your brain as well. At least studies and stuff like that.
I don't think it won't shrink your brain. Intelligence can't be removed.
Well, like, you get worse memory because you don't use it.
Yes. Your skills become dormant. That's the way I like to call it. I'm sure there's some psychological, way of calling it, but your skills become dormant. It's like if you haven't ridden a bike for 20 years, you'd be a bit wary when you get on a bike. You're like, I'm not so sure about this. And then your muscle memory starts to kick in, your brain remembers all the things and pulls it back out, right? Like when I speak in Russian, it's terrible. It's terrible. But I can get back to the level of Russian I had when I was 7 years old, probably in about a week or 2 of speaking with Russian people. It doesn't take long to get back to where you were because it's dormant. It's still in there. There's patterns, it's still there, but it's dormant. It's dormant. It's waiting to wake up when it's needed. And I suspect a lot of stuff when it comes to life has these sort of dormant things that spring back into action when they're needed. Because it's a very good survival technique. But yeah, so it doesn't shrink your brain. It just makes your memory not use the skill. So if you don't use it, the brain goes, well, this is not useful right now. I'll shove it in the recesses of my mind somewhere.
Up the attic.
Yeah, up the attic, where it can gather the dust and become harder to remember over time, while I use these other skills that I seem to use all the time, like scrolling my feed and watching my 30 seconds clips and commenting. So, no, the bigger danger isn't AI reliance when it comes to shrinking your brain. It is reels. My advice to my kids has been pretty simple. If you want to do social media and reels, fine, do it. But understand that it's highly addictive. And once you start doing it, let's say most of the day, your attention span gets destroyed. And that's to do with the way our brains are wired at what I'd like to call the monkey brain. It's the primordial brain part of the mind. I'm not a psychologist, so again, check your facts, blah, 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 But the way we're wired with the way that reels work causes you to always seek a dopamine hit from the reel of a funny video or whatever. And you might not even be having fun because of so much dopamine from the previous watches. But because your brain's seeking for the next thing, you just keep going. And an hour turns into 2 hours, 2 hours turns into 3 hours. It's an addiction.
Yeah.
You do that enough times, well, does your mind need to have attention or be able to focus? What is it doing all day? Not focusing, that's for sure. And because of that, it causes you to lose the ability to focus, not lose it fully. Again, it goes dormant. But until you weed yourself off of those social reels, you're stuck. When you allow things like memory, focus, thinking, these sorts of skills to go dormant, it's hard to get them back because usually you need the thinking and focus to actually get the skills back in the first place. It's not impossible, but it's hard. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, I would say use AI if you want, go ahead. But you're not going to learn how to learn using AI. You're going to learn how to rely on AI. And when it gives you the wrong result, you use the wrong result. And then you'll go, oh, but I was told it's the right result. Looking all confused. Because you don't know what to do when something goes wrong.
Nani desu ka?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is this? That's why I said there's going to be an incompetence crisis. Maybe not in your generation, maybe the generation after yours, maybe it'll be my Serena's generation, or maybe a little bit later, maybe the generation after hers. But there will be a crisis where everyone's been using AI for so long that people are going to forget how to do basic things. They're going to forget how to write code, start a computer, How do I change the battery on a phone? I mean, yeah, they hide the phone batteries now, but that's not the point. My point is simple things, they'll go like, I don't know how to do that. The AI's just done it for me all the time.
Or they just ask the AI and then...
AI, how do I do this? And the AI gives them the wrong instructions because now it's being taught on humans that don't know anything. Because again, it'll still be keep getting taught because that's how you keep it, up to date.
It'll probably be making the websites and all the info on the internet as well. It'll be like dead internet theory.
And then what ends up happening is it learns crap. And once it starts learning crap...
It teaches crap as well.
It teaches crap and it'll fall apart, meaning that it won't teach you things that actually work anymore. And then humans don't know how to do it because they're relying on AI. And AI doesn't know how to do it because it's been learning from humans that don't know how to do it. What ends up happening? Everyone's incompetent. That's why I said that we're heading towards an incompetence crisis. I think that it might be avoided. I think it's also a huge opportunity for parents that have children that they want them to succeed. Because during the incompetence crisis, people who are hooked on using AI and hooked on doing social media and like games and not being able to have any skills, they're not going to be able to do anything in life. They're not going to be able to be employable or anything. Then when systems need to be run by something other than AI because AI is starting to fail, then who do they turn to? They turn to the people who actually have skills. And what are those people going to be? The kids that actually got taught skills by their parents because the parents are like, this is going to eventually be useful to you. I will teach you these skills because they are going to help you eventually in the future.
And those parents were the ones that had parents before them who taught them the skills down. And those parents had parents.
Usually it's the parents that understand life in a better way. I don't like saying they understand life because that makes me sound like elitist, but no, it's more they've had enough life experience and they've taken away from that life experience the lessons that actually help them understand that these skills, they're paid for by work, right? Not by money. by work, by you physically sitting down and learning them. This is why people who go to universities right now are not as skilled as you think they are, most of the time. Because the people going to universities, I went to university, so this includes me. When I came out, you have book knowledge, sure, if you listened. But if you just crammed your brain to be able to pass that test, you'll be very good at saying the right answer, not actually doing the right answer, if that makes sense. So you end up with these people who are like, well, I paid good money. That money is giving me knowledge. That money gave you the opportunity to get knowledge. It didn't give you knowledge, right? And now with the internet around, you've got opportunity to get knowledge whenever you want. What are you waiting for, right? So, like a written invitation. Like, I didn't get a written invitation. I had 3 kids and a wife that needed feeding. That's what my education was. And then go out there and earn money. That's kind of when I started properly learning about life. So, and I was one of the more well-off ones because, you know, my wife was clever and she had savings and I came from a reasonably well-off family and things like that, right? So I was one of the ones who had that extra cushioning to allow me to learn those lessons quickly and with stress, but without as much stress as a person who doesn't have money. Do you see what I mean by like same crap being thrown at everybody, but the people with those things beforehand can utilize what they have to allow them to get over these challenges of learning? That's the biggest difference. But yes, so parents who understand these things and got the right lessons from life when they got smacked in the head by it will be the ones that will equip their kids with the right lessons as well. But that's not everybody.
But also, it also goes down to if they want to equip their kids with the lesson, because they might choose not to or be distracted or have some other priority.
But that's what I mean by the right lessons, right? So right now in most Western countries, we have birth crisis. People are just not having kids. You ask different sectors of society, they'll say for different reasons, right? You ask men, they're like, there's no good women around. You ask women, oh, all men are like, you know, want to just use us and we're oppressed for many years. You know, all of this is just salad dressing. It's just a pretty thing around to just explain something away so that they don't have to consider the problem further. So, yeah, people just not having kids. Solution? Go out, get married, have kids. Oh, but it has cost money. Yeah, I got married before I had the money to deal with the costs. My wife did have money. And I did have, you know, support. So we did find a way to manage to make it work. But the drive to make money will either come from your ambition. And if you're like me and you didn't have any ambition, then it'll come from necessity. So place yourself in a position where you have the necessity. So get a girlfriend and plan to marry her. Maybe don't marry her straight away because you can't afford to marry her. Okay, fine. But plan to marry her and have a kid. Oh, but having kids without marrying is not great. I'm like, no, it isn't. Nor is living a lot of the time, right? A lot of the time you're doing hard work to try and get to the point where you can actually have a bit of fun.
Yeah.
So have a kid. That will force you to get a better job, to maybe work 2 jobs. And then the tiredness and not being able to enjoy your wife and kid will cause you to get a better job, right? And to be more discerning about how much you get paid for, you know, and so on and so forth. And that starts your journey down the path of actually, you know, being able to earn enough money for a family. So, you know, that's at least the way I did it. And I think that's the way that it kind of has to be done. I know that sounds really bad, but I think that's just the way it has to be done. Because there's a million and one things you can say about not wanting to have kids, right? It's expensive. They take up all your time. They do for a while. You know, like they can be annoying. They can drive you insane. After all that hard effort, they might not even appreciate you. All completely true. Completely true points to make. But it doesn't change the fact that if you don't have kids and nobody else has kids, then we don't have a civilization anymore. Like, that's just the fact, right? And you're like, oh, there's some people who want to have kids. Like, I want to have kids. I want to have kids and be a husband. Yeah, but most of those are sitting carefully waiting, going, oh, I want my kids to have a happy future. The world's a bad place, or it's too expensive, things like that. And they're just waiting. Well, if those people don't have kids, then why, like, nobody else will. So, you know, so if you want to have kids and you want to be married, find someone that you really like. Don't worry too much about having fun. You're going to have plenty of fun. Like, throughout your life, you're going to have plenty of fun. You know, don't worry too much about that. Like, I still play computer games every day. I still find like half an hour or whatever to play my computer games, enjoy myself. Even when wife and kids are around. Right now they're in Japan, but even when their wife and kids are around, I still found time. You will find time for things you enjoy, right? If you enjoy going out drinking with your friends, yeah, just make sure you communicate properly with your wife so you don't lose your wife. But you can still do it, right? It's not impossible. So, main thing is just find someone that you want to marry, and then double check that they actually want to marry you, and then get married, have kids. You know?
Yeah.
And don't forget, there are social networks around you. You're not just an individual. You're a person, a island that's connected to many other islands. Many other individuals that are living their lives. And if you can find and have enough of these connections, sometimes they can actually really pull through for you when you need someone to, you know, babysit or whatever, right? So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't stop. Like, we're already heading towards a crisis, you know?
A few different ones, actually, like wars and everything as well.
Birth crisis is the biggest problem.
Probably, yeah.
Not probably. I've listened to a bunch of historians, and whenever there has been a retraction in the population, the societies almost always break down. There's basically no historical examples of where they survived a population crisis. So that's not to say, oh, humans are done for. No. Humans will survive, but we'll go through hell. Do we want to go through hell? No. I rather like having computers and be able to, you know, play my games and have my kids grow up and, you know, then hopefully watch their grandchildren grow up and have good food, not worry about where you're going to eat, whether you're going to have shelter, whether you're going to get eaten by something. You know, I rather like our modern life, you know? So, yeah, population is the biggest problem. The biggest of everything else is population. If you don't stabilize it or slow it down to the point where we can survive a reduction in the population, then our society is done for. Yeah. It's just what it is.
And that's the whole world as a whole.
No, Western societies. Western societies. There are many, many other societies that are not as free around the world, who do not have our same ideas about how we should treat children and women, who prey on the weak, who don't show forgiveness for mistakes, who will, more than likely, take over from us if our societies should fail. And they'll be in control. And all this morality of, you know, we should treat people nicely and stuff will go out the window, because it'll be kill or be killed. And then you'll have hell on earth for, I don't know, a couple of 100 years, maybe 1,000 years. I mean, how long did it take us to get to the point where we decided that, you know, kids should be treated with some dignity. That idea has only been around for 1,000 years, just so you know. Before that, yeah, your kid will take care from you, but your kid was your kid, your property. So he did what you told him. You know, if he didn't, he'd get the back of the hand. Like, that's just the way the world worked before, right? So that's what we'll return to. And then, you know, everyone will be, you know, fighting for their particular tribe or family against all the other tribes and family. And you can forget about individualism. You know, forget about women's rights, freedom for kids to be safe on the streets. You can forget about all that. Hell, if a woman remarried, the kids that she had with the previous marriage would probably die. Like, it's just the way the world used to work.
Yeah, without society, yeah. Or without...
Even with societies, but the societies that don't have the same values. So that's why I said, like, we've got really good societies with very good values. You know, we need to do what little part we can to make sure that we lead it towards a better future, not a worse future. And we can start that by having some kids when you can, right? And when I mean when you can, I mean when you're physically able and you have enough support that'll help out with taking care of them until you are financially able, right? Finances shouldn't get in the way. They shouldn't even be a question in your head. If you want to have a kid, you have someone you love, you know that you two aren't going to fall apart under the pressure. Like when you're in the same house, you're both working, you know, jobs that are making you hate life. That kind of thing can break marriages quite quickly. So you got to make sure you stress test the marriage, right? While you're still in a relationship, and make sure the other person knows you're both stress testing it. Living in close quarters, living on cheap food, both working your butt off on 2 jobs each, you know, really stress test this thing. And then when you're, you know, 19 or whatever, and you stress tested it, and you go, you know what, we still don't want to kill each other, so I think we're good. Like, we actually still like each other, we still want to be together. Okay, we're good. Anything that happens, we know that we can work this thing out with conversation and communication and keep this marriage solid. Then you go, okay, let's have kids, and then when we can afford it, we'll get married, and so on and so forth. Then you proceed. But, you know, like, I didn't marry my wife until we lived together for a while. I was working to try and provide as best as I could. I couldn't provide much because of minimum wage. So, you know, so we weren't in an official relationship for a long time. That's why I said, stress test it first. And then, you know, after it's been stress tested and, you know, yes, definitely this person forever and ever, and you take that seriously, you don't just go, oh, you know, she's cute. Like, you know, you take it seriously, then, yeah, go have kids. Now, if you're religious, obviously follow your religion, because that's going to make you feel guilty, obviously, right? But as you can tell, I'm not that religious. So for me, yeah, just go have kids. You know you're going to be together forever. You've already said that to each other. You've promised it. And a promise is as good as a vow. You know, and if you're a person who breaks promises, my God, you're not going to be able to do anything, really. I mean, you can probably do well in the current society because, you know, as long as you get ahead, that's what gets you ahead. Like, people lie and get ahead right now. So, but that won't work very well in a relationship that you want to last a lifetime. So many lifetimes now, because, you know, people live for a long time. But yeah. So find a person who is one person that can be the right person. Make sure she feels the same way. Make sure you tell each other the truth as much as possible. Like, even avoiding white lies when possible. Some are okay, but like, you gotta be truthful, honestly. And then, yeah, just have kids and get married and divvy out the responsibilities of the marriage quickly and easily. My wife can't be strict with her kids. She's just too loving. So I ended up having to be the strict one. And some people say, oh, well, you don't need a strict person at all. Yes, you do. You always need a strict person, because with kids, it's very difficult for them to separate. If they have one parent, it's very difficult for them to separate, oh, they're being strict with me and they love me. Usually they go, that's the strict one. He tells me what the rules are and I follow them because he's a strict one, and I cry when he gets upset. And that's the loving one. When I need a hug, I go over there. That's just how it works. You know. So that tends to be how it works. And that's what happens when you're trying to raise kids. And kids that are well raised, they tend to not say that's the strict one when they get older. When they get older, they're like, that's the one that taught me the, you know, hard life lessons. And he did it not in the nicest way, but I learned the hard life lessons. And that the person that, you know, took really good care of me and showed me a lot of love. That tends to be the way they describe it.
But also a lot of the time when they get older, they interpret the strict one as the one they gave love as well, because
Yeah, 100%.
they gave love for their future self rather than their past self.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. You can still be loving with them if you're the strict one. You're just the strict one. So I hug my kids as much as I can, because I love hugs. So I hug them all the time. And they love being hugged, and it's great. But if they get in trouble, who does have to deal with it, right? And then if they are, you know, kind of crying, having a really hard time, sure, they might get a hug from me. But if it's a hug from me or a hug from mum, where with me they might get in trouble, with mum they won't get in trouble, if that makes sense. So they go towards the loving one, that they know they're not going to get in trouble no matter what it is. So that's why I said it's better to divvy up the roles, because then, you know, they have an outlet, whichever they need at the time. If they need the strictness because they're heading in the wrong direction, then the strict person intervenes. And the reason why I don't place male and female on this, because it doesn't matter who does it. It matters just one is strict and one is loving. That's it. And, you know, keep the strict away from the one that can be loving without strictness. You know? You know, and
it's kind of like the two voices in your head you usually have to listen to. Like, you see food, that's good. You're like, there's the easy voice where it's like, take it, it's good. Or there's a strict one where it's like, think about the bigger picture.
That's a very good way to look at it. That is the two voices that get built up in your head over when you're young. It's your two parents that, you know, one being more strict than the other. It doesn't have to be your parents as well. It could be the grandpa that's strict. As long as there's a role model in your life that's strict.
But if you don't have that, then you just have the one voice you listen to, and it's just like comfort, comfort, comfort.
Yeah, and then you become someone who can't deal with difficult situations.
Which is life.
Yeah, because again, everything's skills that you have to build. You build it through doing stuff. You don't build it by just reading it in a book. Yeah. And teaching skills to your kids is also very difficult. Very difficult. There's a concept of owning the thing you're learning, if that makes sense to you. So when you're trying to teach your kids, you can tell them X, Y, Z. They could understand, oh, X, Y, Z. But will they use that skill? No. And they're like, I don't know, I just didn't feel like it. Because it doesn't belong to them. It belongs to you. Oh, that's the way dad does it. Oh, that's the way mum does it. So it doesn't belong to them.
Developing your own way for doing something new that you learn.
Well, it's not developing it, it's copying it, but owning it.
Making it yours.
Yeah, making it yours is the hard
the
part.
way you do it, yeah.
It's get your brain to like say, you know what, this is actually useful. I know I think dad's lame, but this is actually useful. So I will copy what he's doing because I don't know how to do it. And then I will change a few steps a little bit so that I get comfortable using it. And then it becomes mine. So it's difficult. And I told my kids this as well, like, this is the way that our brains work. So when I tell you something, try it. You don't have to do it. Just try it. And then if you find it useful, keep it and change it. If you don't find it useful, try something else that is similar to it that's better. at least they have a starting point that way.
Yeah.
And I think that's the only real way you can teach kids the skill, other than, grabbing them by the hand going, you're going to do this in front of me right now, which is the other way that dads tend to treat, teach their kids.
Yeah.
And parents teach their kids.
Mm.
So, yeah. And even with doing that, all of that, you'll still have kids that just don't learn those lessons at all. The more annoying thing, ridiculously annoying thing, especially with teenagers. You should know
I
this.
should have experience,
You
yeah.
have experience with this.
Mm-hmm.
The most annoying thing is, you could have taught them something when they're like 11 or 12. They don't remember it, but you taught them. The idea's in their head. And then they come up to a problem and they use that idea. And they go, oh, I'm so clever. I came up with the idea. And you're like, come on, man. I've been telling you this for 2 years. I've told you this for 2 years. You've ignored it every single time. It's seeped in, but you've ignored it every single time. And now you've done it as amazingly. It's your thing, right? Of course, you don't say that to the kid because you try not to because it's hard not to. But that happens a lot.
I don't remember doing that though.
Of course. And I don't remember doing that either. Like when I go, oh, this was a great idea, and I do it, I'm like, I came up with a great idea. I'm so amazing. Because that's the way our brains work. They like to, the ego likes to puff itself up, So, oh, I'm so amazing. I found out a great novel way of doing something. And then maybe about 10 years ago or 5 years ago, which you don't remember, your parent was like, we're going to do this. And you're like, do I have to? And it's like, yes. And then you do it. And then you learned it kind of. And then later on you start owning it, like, 5 years down the track when you actually start using the skill. And they're like, oh, I came up with such a wonderful, amazing way to approach something.
Yeah.
And it was all there all the way along. So
I feel like the only thing I could remember in my personal life is kind of like getting told to try a dish and you don't really want to try and then you semi-try it. But then like in the future, you end up loving it and eating it all the time and saying it's like your favorite, but...
Yeah, because you remember being told to try the dish. But if you didn't remember being told to try the dish, you would have been like, I've discovered something amazing and new that I really enjoy. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's a matter of memory. Like if you don't remember it, you'd think it's coming from yourself. That's not to say not everything comes from parents. I don't think it does. I think there are some things that come from
There's Instagram
yourself.
Reels that teach you as well. There's Instagram Reels that can teach you as well.
Yeah. Like it can definitely come from many sources as well as from within yourself. That happens a lot of the time too, of course. But it's frustrating for parents when they've been teaching their kids that they get to a point of deciding this is a great idea, this is the way things work, and they've been taught it all along. It's just they've now accepted it and they don't remember being taught it. That can be a very frustrating experience.
Yeah.
But no, it's still fun. Having kids is fun. I think you'll find most parents say the same thing. Like having kids is incredibly fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's the biggest challenges you've had with having kids?
Which one?
The biggest.
Remember, I started with having kids, 2 of them, when one of them was like, I remember, 3, maybe 4, and the other one was like 7, maybe 6, because my memory of that time is hazy. So I had to know how to give them a bath, take care of them straight away. So I was like, well, okay, I guess.
I mean, you skipped the changing diaper part.
No, I had that with Serena, my third one.
No,
I went through that one. That was fun. But yeah, so like, what's the hardest part? The hardest part is to learn to be a parent, essentially, because there's no manual. You read up about things. I've watched so many things about learning and how brains work and things like that to help me with trying to guide them as best as I can, because I want to be a good dad. So, I actually really wanted to be a dad, and a husband. So I've done a lot of research on these topics, and tried to apply the lessons and see which ones work, which ones don't, which ones seem to be kind of part of reality, which ones don't. So yeah, I would say the hardest thing for me was just learning to be a dad, you know. But if you wanted something that's a little less abstract, I think staying calm. When I was young, I had a bit of a hot head. I would get angry easily. So staying calm and not, exploding when something doesn't go the right way, or when one kid was mean to the other or whatever, was difficult. Also, I didn't particularly like being the strict one, obviously, because I like hugging and playing and, all that sort of stuff. So learning how to do that role properly and have appropriate punishments to the things that go wrong was difficult as well.
And I guess figuring out where the balance is and where you can't step over the line, or else you're beyond the bad cop and now you're evil.
With that, I wouldn't worry so much about it. Yeah, obviously I was worried about, being a bad dad, them having to suffer too much through timeouts and things like that. Obviously I was worried about that, but I wouldn't worry too much about that, because as a strict parent, in the end of the day, what you say are the rules are the rules. If you are unjust, then you're just unjust, right? It's, what are you trying to compare yourself to, right? The best dad that ever lived? Well, you're not going to succeed that, because you haven't gone through the same crap that dad has to become the best dad that ever lived, right? Because our experiences and the skills we build when we're younger are what we bring to the table when we're trying to become a better parent. So, yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about stepping over the line. The line is whatever you make it. There is a line in society that you need to know about, obviously. I'm assuming everyone understands that. But when it comes to stepping over some kind of invisible moral barrier, as long as you have good morals, you don't need to worry about it. Now, if you are agnostic, you don't care for any of religious teachings of any denomination that tell you what the line is, and have a difficulty understanding that, kids deserve some respect, then perhaps you should be worried about the line.
Yeah.
But I was brought up with Russian Orthodox parents, went to an Anglican school, so basically my morals are that of Christianity. So for me, of course I was worried about it, but I shouldn't have worried about it, because I know that I am trying my best for them, and that I have now years of experience, and I know at what stage of life what punishment is appropriate. So for my teenagers, go to your room is not a thing, because they don't learn like that. It just doesn't work. Did you learn a lesson? Yeah, Dad. Next time they'll just lie to you. No. But before they become teenager, before they get old enough, I'm like, look, this is the punishment. You're not a teenager yet. You don't have those freedoms yet. Sorry, but that's the rule. That's the way it goes. When you get older, or if you show me enough maturity to prove that you're older, then that punishment no longer exists for you. Right? And now people might be like, well, but if you treat them as like adults, they'll be able to be much better. Yeah, okay. Kids that are 3 or 4 are happy to punch each other for fun. Okay? That's just the truth. That is what it is. We have monkey brains. Getting into a fight can be exhilarating, can be exciting. And what do you do with those kids? oh, you shouldn't have punched that other kid. If they felt the exhilaration, they'll do it again. Right? So, no. Age
Yeah, I've seen that a
appropriate.
lot at like Bounce when I was working there. There was like some little kids, and even like to the staff, they just run up to you and like punch you at the leg or
Yeah.
keep punching you. Like,
Yeah. Because they don't know boundaries. And they don't know boundaries because no boundaries have been set. So they keep pushing those boundaries, and then they're like, oh, I guess everything goes. And the problem with that kind of parenting is that you hope that eventually they'll learn. But remember how I said everything's a skill? Yeah, everything's a skill. And even though we have some things, innate things that make us feel bad when someone's crying and things like that, some people don't even have that, actually. Some people are born without that, right? And for those people, I would say, look, you need religion. You need something above you that you believe in that you will follow. Because if you don't, then you'll end up doing the most heinous stuff. And until you decide that's even important, whatever, you might turn into a monster essentially. But sure, we have these things, but we also have the aggression of a human being. We have the selfishness of a monkey, essentially, stealing things for ourselves as best as we can, and the social structure of monkeys as well, where the leader will punch those below him to make sure they fall in line. So we have all these things in our primordial brain. So, like, you either tame the beast or become one. I would rather have a tame beast, honestly. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, when it comes to kids, they're not even old enough to know that they have these things. I could spend 3 hours lecturing my poor 3-year-old, 2-year-old about how they're like a little monkey inside, and they'll just think, oh, that means I should swing off trees, like,
Yeah.
or throw food,
Or poo.
Yeah, they'll take the wrong lesson. But, instead, it's better to have that strict parent with age-appropriate punishments that become laxer as they get older, more responsible. And then they learn that as long as you follow whatever society's rules that you're in, you'll be treated with respect. But when you start not following those society and social rules, don't be surprised that there are punishments. That's just the way the world works. The social one, anyway. And if you say, oh, it's better that there's no social order, well, yeah, then you get tribes that try and kill each other all the time. You think war's bad now. If we go back to tribal ideas, all those wonderful, amazing weapons that we have stored away, and America has stored away, will be used instantly because tribal people don't care about the state of the other tribe or where they live. So, yeah.
Yeah. Looks like we're about to wrap it up. I like to finish my podcast with the Marcel Proust questionnaire, which is a personality quiz.
Sure.
Shall we begin?
Sure, why not?
What is your idea of perfect happiness?
Having coffee with my wife.
What is your greatest fear?
Being mind-controlled.
What is the trait you most deplore in yourself?
Deplore, like...
Strongest approval.
Disapproval or approval?
Disapproval.
Disapproval. I think too much and don't act on it.
What is the trait you most deplore in others?
Not thinking enough.
Which living person do you most admire?
This might take a while because I don't do much of the fan thing. You know what? My dad.
What is your greatest extravagance?
Oh, that would be my computer games. The fact that I play computer games, that takes up so much of my time when I can get away with it. That would be...
And money, I guess, unless you're free to play.
It's not the money. Time is money. It really is. So no, it's the time that I spend on it that I could be spending on other productive things.
What is your current state of mind?
Current state of mind, in what context?
That's basically the context. So just
Relaxed.
What do you consider the most overrated virtue?
I'll get there eventually.
Yeah.
I think ambition, actually. Because it's probably one of the most important things in life, to be able to be ambitious and to be able to push yourself forward. But I think we fixate on it way too much in the current society.
Yeah. On what occasions do you lie?
Well, first of all, I try and avoid lying at all costs. But if I do tell a lie, it's usually where telling the truth would unnecessarily hurt someone's feelings that has absolutely no constructive element to it. Like, absolutely no constructive element.
What do you most dislike about your appearance?
What is there to dislike? Currently, that would probably be the fact that I'm a little bit overweight. My stomach's a little big.
Which living person do you most despise?
I also make an effort not to despise anyone. So the only living person that I despise would be my visual arts teacher from school when I was, I think, in year 11, or was it year 10? Probably he would be the only person that I would still dislike right now. When I don't like someone, usually I'm just, they're whatever, or I like people. That's generally the range of things. I try and avoid dislike or despise. Like, it's just, hating someone doesn't help you at all.
Yeah.
And liking people smooths over things to make things work easier and better for everybody.
Yeah. What is the quality you most like in a man?
Integrity. Doing the things you say you're going to do. If you fail that, apologizing for failing what you said you were going to do and making it up to the person as quickly as possible. Yeah, I think men should have the integrity. Strength can be built from hardship. That's not a big deal. Compassion and love can be built from just being shown it by other people as well. The one thing that's very difficult to build, because it requires you to sacrifice things you like and to think about other people than yourself, is integrity. Integrity of your word. Not necessarily honesty, though. Integrity.
Yeah. What is the quality you most like in a woman?
I'm a very shallow man. That would be how cute my wife is. Obviously, that's why I'm with her. And you have to understand, being cute is not like
a be all end all.
No, it's not like young. You know, people conflate it. They're like, oh, that means she looks young. No. Cute is, she does look young, but cute is the way a person acts, the way they interact with the world, the way they eat, the way they deal with difficult situations. That can be cute. So yeah. In women, I prefer them to be cute.
Yeah. I've been called cute. I don't really look young for my age.
You look young, man. For now. For now. Don't worry. Time will come when that goes.
Hopefully.
If I shave, I still look young.
Okay.
So it's just the baby face we got from dad, you know.
Maybe, yeah. But I feel like, I don't know, with enough training, it'll just harden up like a rock.
It's don't need to worry about it hardening up. When you go and have hardship, it shows in your eyes. There are stories of veterans that talk to soldiers that are out in the field now that come back, and they have a talk to each other, and the veteran literally goes, "You've been through some stuff." They don't even know each other. So yeah, all the difficulties and hardships you go through, you wear them on your face. So go out and have hardships, go out and have a hard time, and then you'll look older.
Yeah. Which words or phrases do you most overuse?
I don't even know. I do say a lot, I guess. You know, like, you know what I mean? That kind of stuff.
What or who is the greatest love of your life?
Keiko, my wife, obviously. And that's never going to change, so.
When and where were you happiest?
At home with my wife, or at a cafe with my wife. Just enjoying each other's company, having a coffee together, maybe dancing with her too. It's hard to pick. It'll be an occasion with her where I'm happiest.
Which talent would you most like to have?
Being a hard worker, like a proper hard worker, not having to like fake it. There's some people who work super hard. They're just industrious people, you know, and that's like that's a character trait. That's if I could have it, I would have it, but I don't have it. That's just the way it is.
If you could change one thing about yourself, what would it be?
Right now, I'm not sure. Give me a minute. In the past, it would have been just to not be lazy when I was young. But now it would probably be being a little bit greedier would help me in life, I'd say. Now, will I do that? Probably not. But if I could do that and change that, probably would.
What do you consider your most greatest achievement?
Being a husband to my wife, my children, my book. Pick one of those.
If you were to die and come back as a person or a thing, what would you be?
You know what? Coming back as a cow or a rabbit wouldn't be too bad. Because all you do is, maybe not rabbit because they get scared a lot, but a cow wouldn't be too bad. All you do is just eat, get fat, live a good long life, and then eventually you're slaughtered. But for the time when you're alive, it's amazing. You get to think, you get to relax, do whatever.
Depending on which part of the world you live in, you might get worshipped by some humans.
No, maybe, but you know, you can't guess at the chances, right? But if I were to be reincarnated in this world, I would say, yeah. If I was a cow, that wouldn't be bad. That'd be pretty chill. You know, because they're usually reasonably valued. Of course, you know, eventually I will die and get eaten, but.
Or you just get used for milk.
Yeah, but even with dairy cows, once they get old enough, milk gets a bit not as nice. So eventually they also get killed off eventually. But like I said before, if I were to be reincarnated, yeah, I'd say cow. Nice lazy life.
Where would you most like to live?
What, currently? I'd say Japan. I think it's got a lot of problems, but the people there are starting to face them. The people in Australia have their heads in the sand. They still have their heads in the sand. People are like, oh, they're starting to wake up. Nah, they still have their heads in the sand. And there's a lot of problems that are coming down towards Australia right now that people are just too busy relaxing and enjoying the sun, essentially.
Basically, the lucky country, yeah.
Yeah. That's as I said before, everything is like, a trade-off, right? You have a great lucky country. The trade-off is you're not aware of the things that are coming for you, and you might not be prepared when they hit you.
Like what the Singapore leader said, the white trash of Asia for Australia, because we don't diversify and we just rely too much on our mining minerals, but we don't even capitalize on it properly as well. And
Yeah, but that's because a lot of people don't. They think they understand how capitalist system works, but they don't really understand it that well. And I don't either. Don't get me wrong, but they don't actually understand how it works really all that well. I mean, that's why we have a lot of things like minimum wage, a bunch of other things that are in place. A lot of the social welfare. I'm not saying it's bad. I used social welfare when I was young, but it has trade-offs, and they don't know what those trade-offs are. They just go, it is good, you must have, right? And I'm like, those trade-offs are now biting us in the butt. Minimum wage means that it's very difficult for us to compete with countries that don't have minimum wage because of the international trade. We don't do tariffs because free trade is the best thing ever, supposedly, but the trade-off is now we have to compete with minimum wage in other countries. That's how capitalism works. Then they go, oh, but there's competitive advantage. Okay, what's our competitive advantage? We have minerals. Well, when that goes, okay, we have cattle, we have meat. That's great. Can't cattle graze other places, right? So, yeah, that's.
What is your most treasured possession?
My most treasured possession. I don't really care that much about my possessions. But if I would have to say something, it would most likely be, it's a hard one. It would most likely be my cross, even though I'm not religious. The cross I was christened with would probably be my most valued possession. And that's because of all the love and the protection and the well wishes that came from my parents and my grandparents are in that cross. Because that's why you get christened in the first place. That's why you get baptized, is because of the well wishings of your family for you to do well. And they still reside there. So I would say that's probably my most valued possession.
What do you regard as the lowest depth of misery?
The lowest step of misery. Like, can't get any worse than this. Boredom. Boredom by far.
Yeah. What is your favorite occupation?
Occupation is in something I do for whatever, or
Originally,
money?
it's meant to be pastime, but a lot of my guests have used it as like job, but you can say pastime.
Right. I see. Occupation is like what you spend your time doing. My favorite. Now, I've said I'm spending my time with my wife too much, so I will say playing computer games, I think.
What is your most marked characteristic?
Like people recognize me for? I guess people call me a nice guy, a kind guy. I don't think they're right, but, you know.
What do you most value in your friends?
Probably honesty. It's a lot easier to be able to work with someone, friend, not friend. Honesty would be the most thing I value. It's just a lot easier.
Who are your favorite writers?
Terry Pratchett. Who else? There are other few, but Terry Pratchett would have been one of the biggest ones. Tolkien as well, because I have actually managed to read at least half of the Lord of the Rings. There's a few others, but I don't remember their names. But yeah.
Who is your hero of fiction?
Hero in fiction?
Saitama?
No. It would have been my own character. The character I call Sir John. He is the epitome of toughness, essentially. He goes through crap and he just keeps going. That would be the fictional character, the hero of my fictions. Yeah.
Which historical figure do you most identify with?
Identify with? Well, you know, I see myself as like a bit of a Napoleon. No. Let me actually have a think, but without sounding too pretentious, because this person's much better than me, like in every aspect. But I would say Tolstoy.
Oh, wait, Tolstoy?
Yeah, the writer Tolstoy.
Oh, like Dostoevsky?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say think too much, philosophize too much. Now, obviously, that's based on my limited knowing of him, of course.
Who are your heroes in real life?
Well, we've already had a question like that, you know.
Well, that was fiction. Who are
Yeah,
your
no.
heroes in real
I
life?
mean, like my dad, you know,
No.
who I look up to,
I mean,
because
that's
you look up to your
admire.
heroes. Yeah,
Oh,
but
yeah.
you admire heroes. That's the thing.
I
Obviously,
mean, multiple heroes.
Obviously, dad, of course. My father-in-law who passed away is someone who I also deeply admired, and I was really sad to lose him. Don't have many other heroes in my life. That would be probably those two would be the ones, yeah.
What are your favorite names?
My favorite names. I don't know why, but Ikari is a nice name. Luna as well. What other names? Yeah. Patrick is a nice name too. It's a couple.
Yeah. What is it that you most dislike?
Boredom. That's why it's the worst thing ever.
What is your greatest regret?
Greatest regret. You see, that's another thing that I try and avoid. I think avoiding regrets is the best way to plan your life. But if I had to pick a regret, my greatest regret would probably be not starting to write when I was in my teens. I was writing, but actually writing books, just pumping them out, because I had time where I didn't have work. I didn't have anyone relying on me. I could have written a book every two months. Do that for 3 years, you get like 18 books out. maybe not published, obviously, because, you know, I'm not famous at all, but
On KDP, Amazon, you can do it yourself.
yeah, but those didn't exist back then. But at least you would have the manuscripts done. They're there. I could have them stored on my laptop, you know, and then when Amazon came around, I'll be like, oh, well, I guess I could self-publish, and then bam, 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 you know? But yeah, so I would say the amount of time I've used on things that were basically a waste would be my biggest regret.
Yeah. And how would you like to die?
How would I like to die? Dying in my sleep surrounded by family would probably be my favorite way. There are a few other ones that come up to mind, but I think that would be my favorite way.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Sasha.
No,
you
thank
did great.
you. I did all right.